What's up, everybody? Just a brief little introduction before we begin the episode. This past weekend, I was down in Vegas to participate in the half marathon. And while I was in town, I went and visited an old rugby teammate of mine. Eric Wolfe played for the Sin City Skulls and then the Las Vegas Renegades from 2000 till 2014. He's got a rare progressive disease called Charcot Marie Tooth. I believe that's how you say it. It might be French. Anyways, I hadn't seen Eric in over a year, so we had a lot of catching up to do, and I didn't get to do a proper introduction. But anyways, without further ado, this is episode 31.
I always get kind of weirded out hearing myself.
No, this is that's why I like wearing the headphones. This is actually the first time that I've traveled with this kit, and I just got these broadcast headphone mics. But it's kind of cool because, you go into, podcast world where it's just, so you asked me earlier, why I wanted to start the podcast, and it was just kind of, just enjoy talking with people, and then, a lot of times you travel, but you never really get to, really know someone.
Unless you
up. Unless, yeah, exactly. Unless you become
way
roommates.
too many dudes in a tiny little room in some...
In Grand
Midwestern,
Rapids.
yeah, in some little town.
Dude, that was still one of my probably favorite tournaments that I went to.
And also probably our most, economical ever. I think I spent, a flight plus maybe $30, that whole weekend.
$30 for the hotel.
Mm.
Yeah. And then we went to the grocery store and got,
Ramen
beef
and
ravioli and
shit.
shit. Yeah. That was
to Myers. I remember you were like, what the fuck is this place, Myers? I was like, it's some
Mayors.
back here, I guess.
Yeah, there's one in near the in Rockford.
All right.
Yeah,
I can't think of. That's probably the farthest west one I've seen because I'm usually in Ohio with my grandparents or something, and that's where they would shop.
Yeah. It's a big thing out there.
It's like the same as Smith's.
Where are those?
Just one right down the street, Smith's. The grocery store.
No, when I lived here,
Albertsons.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Same
that's
thing.
back home.
Yeah.
No, when I
got
lived
both.
when I lived here, it was Costco.
Oh, well, there's Costco too, but that's a
Yeah.
different kind of store, right? That's
Completely different.
yeah.
But everything I ever needed was at Costco.
Myers more like that. Well, I think just your standard
Like a Safeway,
grocery store.
like a Safeway, Albertsons, Publix.
Get food mostly, maybe some clothing items, but mostly food. Man, so you got your half marathon on Sunday.
Yeah, second time.
That's cool. Is it the same? Is it the rock and roll?
Yeah, yeah.
So I haven't even been paying attention to what's
Yeah,
going on
man.
where. That's cool.
No, it's up
and down the strip.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. It's the only two times they shut down the strip.
New Year's
and yeah.
And I've heard that, I don't know if it's going to happen, but they've seemed to be more recently trying to figure out a way to stop doing that on New Year's.
Why?
Because it's just
it's a madhouse.
it's not just that, but in the world we live in today, that's a juicy target.
Yeah.
All these people in party capital of the planet. And
You were here during the shooting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We, with my dad's business and stuff, I asked him, do you have people there right now? Luckily they didn't, but it's shitty. And that's still pretty much,
Dude,
there's never been a good explanation for why that piece of shit did what he did.
I hate to say it, and, they made a big deal about the bump stocks.
Yeah.
But I am willing to bet that if he actually knew how to use a rifle
He would have killed way more people.
and knew
Dude,
fucking how to shoulder a weapon.
As soon as I heard that he was using a bump stock, I said, if he was trying to kill people, he just did the opposite thing of what he should have been doing.
Yeah.
Because that's fucking retarded.
Just spray and pray.
Yeah. Might as well literally just duct tape a full auto and chuck it out the fucking window.
Yeah,
you got about the same chance, right? Stupid.
That reminds me of that scene in True Lies with Jamie Lee.
With the
she drops the
Uzi and it kills everybody and it doesn't waste any ammo. Maybe two up in the air.
It never shoots back at her.
Center mass of every target or a double to the chest and one to the head, but like
Dude.
none just randomly into boxes and shit, all into bad guys. Yeah, that's what you call like a amateur badass marksman right there. Like, whoops, and you just killed 30 people.
Yeah, dude. I was. Jeremy Hannaford was at the concert, but they fucked up and like booked their flights like early, so they had to leave.
That's like
Yeah.
so not there at the
insane.
time of the shooting, but earlier in the night at the concert.
Yeah. I think the concert was on it was a festival, and I think it was the last day.
Have
But
you know right where it happened, right?
Yeah, it was that's where the starting block was for the marathon.
Yeah, you know, like when you're sitting at
It was the old empty like
when
employee
you're
parking
like
lot,
in
right?
that when you're in the Excalibur, Luxor, in
Yeah.
Mandalay Bay, that lot right across the street, like
Yeah,
farther
yeah.
down, is where it all was. It's like a big parking lot and a field, and it's just
It's like
empty
it
shit.
used to be an old employee parking lot.
and now it's like fucked up.
What do they do with it? Because they moved the starting block.
They do what they do with everything in Vegas. They sell it to some rich asshole, and he builds some fucking treasure palace that robs people blind for 10, 15 years, and then they run out of money and blow that fucker up and build another one. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
This place is interesting, man.
Vegas is a trip. So my first instance with Las Vegas is when I'm really little. My family's on like a vacation, and we live in California at the time. And my grandma's out visiting. We don't get to see her all the time. And for some reason, we're on a epic road trip. We could go see the Grand Canyon, but we stop in Las Vegas, right? And it's way different because there's a hotel right down the street that during that trip, it was the only thing around for 10 miles. You know, it was like this little podunk nothingness and then Vegas down the road. And we stayed at that hotel, and it's still there just by random chance, like fucking 30 years later. But there was nothing out here. And then years later, my dad ends up getting stationed at Nellis. And so we move out here. And this is just after the first Gulf War, 90s, early 90s or something. And then when we're living in base housing, which is the opposite end of the valley from here over by Nellis, I remember when you'd go to the airport, it was going to the airport. Like you would leave Las Vegas and you would arrive at the airport, like this separate place. And now it's fucking right in the middle of everything. Just here's the airport, and as soon as you leave, there's Vegas right there.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. And even now, I go down there so rarely that if I go down, I'm like, man, everything's fucking different. Like every time you go down, everything's different.
Even just like, because like I lived here for a couple months, and it was
a couple months. You were here for like half a year or more.
It was like a year. It was like a year and a half.
Yeah, it was a while.
Yeah, I had that condo. Right
He was
off.
just trying to be like half a year or a couple months, so come try to get
It
him
was
and be
enough.
like, what? You told us you were living here.
It was
you owe us
enough.
taxes.
It was enough to know that I could not be.
So Vegas is like L.A., is like New York, is like London, I assume. I've never been to London. It's a cool place to go visit, spend a couple days, and then go the fuck away.
I think you can do
it's too much.
No more than
4 days
three-
tops.
three
I say
nights.
4,
3 nights.
which is 4 days.
Yeah.
And you're good. And on that 4th day, if you're not leaving, like, you're going to lose a lot more money or do something a lot more stupid.
There's what's cool about Vegas though is there's a couple different ways you can do it. Like last time I was in town, I just had a companion pass on Delta, so me and Pat were like, shit, we got to use this.
Go
So
to Vegas for lunch.
Dude, we stayed at the Orleans, and we rented a car, stayed at the Orleans, played poker all day, and then we'd go to our our favorite restaurants. I didn't even go to the Strip.
Did you win at poker?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I always win. Come on.
Fucking always win.
Yeah. Dude, that's why I couldn't live in this town, because I was
Dude,
playing poker. I was playing poker like 4 days a week.
How many months of your rent did it cover, though?
All of it.
So, yeah, what's so bad about that?
Nothing, but it was just being in the poker room.
No, I know. I saw it. Like, I saw it change you, and even me and Shock were like, Tim can't live in Vegas. Like, he has to leave at some point or it will consume him. And I think it does to a lot of people. I don't think I was ever in the position to let Vegas consume me because I never had enough money to just, like, I'm going to go gamble. Because you do that, like, a few times. I'm not giving that machine any more
But you know what's fun
money.
is the online gambling.
So,
like, on your phone, the
so
app.
I went and got, like, when it was first, like,
You were the one that
statewide-
introduced me to it.
Yeah, I went and got, like, statewide
I lost so
sports
much money.
betting, right? And I was like, oh, that's right. And I was smart, and I just put, like, money down the first time. And I was like, I'm either going to win or I'm going to play as long as I can. And I played as long as I can and, piss it all away.
That reminds
me.
me,
At sport betting.
I probably still have $55 at the MGM.
From when, though? Is it valid? Because that shit now only lasts, like...
2013.
Well, I saw the last one that I saw, I think, when I put money in and pulled it out, I was curious. I was like, how long is it going to last? It was like 13 months, maybe. So just enough time for you to think you're going to get back, but just enough time for you to not really make it back.
Yeah.
So that it just
I
integrates into
never
their profits.
could get that app to work outside of the state.
It was...
As soon as I left, and, like, if we drove to L.A., it was like, as soon as I left.
They had such a hard time making... online sports betting legal in this state that they were like put all kinds of crazy restrictions on it. So they really locked that shit down. Like, it was accurate to within feet. It had to be just pulling GPS. I'm like, if you go across this line, you can't do it anymore.
What's the
because even VPNs wouldn't work and shit.
Yeah, I tried VPNs and all that. What's the law on sports betting now?
What do you mean?
Like, nationwide, like, is it 100% legal?
I don't even know.
Because, like, a lot of the podcasts I listen to, they advertise, like, MyBookie and...
Oh, man, I saw, like, all those fantasy football companies are doing betting. How the fuck's that work, Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean...
People are into it.
Well,
I'm not that
gambling
nerdy.
was
There's
a Vegas thing and an Atlantic City thing and Indian reservation thing because they weren't beholden to the man, so they were like, "Fuck you, we're gonna get some money." But now I think it's opened up to almost everywhere. Utah's got some casinos, I heard. Like, that might be on Indian property.
Maybe,
but
probably.
But I never heard of no casino in Utah. Like, seriously?
I can't think of one.
I could almost see a mob of Utahns like running down there just to tear it down. But no, like it probably is on Indian reservation now that I think about it. But from what I saw, New Orleans has gambling, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So it's opened up a lot to.
There's technically they're riverboats.
So they're not.
They have to be like on the water. But
I always wanted to pull some shit like that. Like if you lived on a coastal area, like international waters, bitch. Like what are you doing? Whatever the fuck we want. Like,
there's a town in Iowa.
Just over there breaking U.S. laws 5 miles away from just so they can't do nothing about it.
There's a town in Iowa called Council Bluffs, and it's like riverboats, like, but they're like fucking.
Just are they docked or they actually have to be underway?
They're like casinos on the water.
But they're moving, or are they just like tied up at a dock?
No,
somewhere?
they're completely stationary.
So
they're buildings.
They're not riverboats. They're floating hotels or whatever. Floating casino floors.
They're not even floating. They're fucking anchored. I mean, they're.
Well, they gotta be floating if they're on the water, right?
They're foundation.
Or you think they're like pulled in to where they're like, we're floating, and they're like, why is the water 20 feet below the hole? Never mind that.
I don't know how it works. Mobile's like that too.
I bet they're just boats that they're just docked up. You know what I mean? Like. Tied up, so you get that kind of you're on the water feel, hopefully. Because otherwise, what the fuck's the point? Just go into a normal building. I mean, the legality is stupid. Like, we're on the river, bitch. That's over the land of the state. It doesn't make any sense.
Another cool thing about Vegas, man, is like all the shows.
I've only seen a couple, and I mean, the only ones I've seen are all Cirque du Soleil. But everyone's been like, holy shit, that's some cool stuff. How did these people not die? I'm always amazed that it's not every other day there's like another Cirque du Soleil performer died, but you don't hear about them breaking an ankle and stuff here.
I took the advantage of the 2-for-1 for locals, and I at the time
when you were living here?
Yeah, I went to go see like every single Cirque du Soleil because it would be certain nights. It'd be like Tuesday, go see Ka.
Yeah, Ka is awesome. That's probably my favorite one.
The stage. I think that's what sets.
I've seen that show twice, and the first time I saw that stage, it was a literal jaw-dropping moment. Like,
oh yeah,
I want to fucking I want one. Like, I want to play with that. And then I was like, how are they doing that? Is it just a giant robotic arm, or what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And then I actually saw a program on it, and I'm like, it really is just a giant robotic arm.
Rotates.
That has a platform that has
shit
that can come in and out of it, those pegs, and like all kinds of crazy shit built into it. People actually are in it while it's moving around underneath, but out of your view. It's insane. And I like that the shows are shows before their shows. Like when you got your ticket and you show up at a certain time, as soon as you're getting into the places, the show's already started. The main performance hasn't started, but there's already weird shit going on around you, like people doing flaming arrow shit, like just all kinds of weird stuff.
It's
and
it's like a rainforest cafe.
It's like the warm-ups, like they're limbering up, but it's so cool they might as well let people see what the fuck they're doing.
What's amazing is the people the acrobats that do that shit work.
I'm scared.
Multiple shows.
I'm scared just watching it. Oh yeah, they'll do like 2 showings a night.
Yeah. Right? No, they'll go do different ones too.
Oh yeah, no. They actually move like between the shows. You're not like, oh, I work at this show. It's like I'm at this show because they're all under Cirque du Soleil, and then they parcel them out and pair them up and put them in these awesome productions.
So the first Cirque du Soleil I went to go see, I think I might have been like 12 or 13, and it was the traveling one that came to town. And I was blown away. I was just like, then I became fascinated with circuses.
Scary stuff. I mean, it's like, I look at it and I'm like, wow, it's amazing. I'm always like, man, I do not want one of these guys to fall while I'm here.
Cool thing about the Vegas shows is like they build these multi-million-dollar arenas. Yeah. Like, they call them stages.
That stage at CAW, just that one piece of machinery is like $20 million piece of machinery, Or
the pool over at Bellagio.
The beach, like they got an actual beach.
Yeah. I haven't been to crazy. The Beatles one.
I've only been to the entrance.
Yeah,
right.
Big
with
revolution.
The like rainbow and all those trippy fucking mirrors on the ceiling, and I'm just like, man, I wish I had some acid or something because this would be cool. I've never been in, but this is like a horrible thing to say because people are like, what the fuck? I was never a huge Beatles fan. Yeah, I like some.
Neither was I.
I like some of the hits and stuff, but for overall, I couldn't put in a Beatles album and listen. I'd be like, nah.
Too poppy.
Too old.
Old.
I don't know. It's weird. I have this weird thing about like I don't know. I guess it's not true because I'll listen to some classical stuff and be like, man, it's cool. And then you think about when that was made. Like, okay, they didn't even have electricity.
I was more of a Stones guy.
And I never cared for the Stones too much more now than I ever did, like growing up or just in general. But
I like the Stones. They got a good little country vibe.
There's some good stuff, but I think again the Stones is like one of those ones where I couldn't listen to an album.
Good guitar work.
I wouldn't be able to listen to a whole album. I don't know. It's just probably after a while because I realized that music for me, a lot of it is at first you're like, well, it's kind of weird or funky or something. You're like, there's something about it that you don't like, but then you end up.
There's not a lot of albums I can listen to from cover to cover.
I have some from like my teen years and stuff that I could put on and jam probably straight through, and then put on another one and jam through. Primus.
An entire album?
Probably 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Like I could just, especially their older stuff. If you start back when Primus was like just putting out their first big CDs, and you start working towards now, I could probably get like 3 or 4 CDs in before I'd be like, nah, I don't want to listen to it.
Honestly, couldn't name you a single Primus song.
They
do the South Park theme.
Yes.
I know that.
And I didn't find that out until I was already like a fan of theirs for fucking years, And then I was like, one time listening to it, I'm like, that's fucking Les Claypool. That's what the fuck this is. And I looked it up and I'm like, no shit, it is Primus. Like, holy fuck, it's straight up Primus.
That's my only connection to the band.
And now like I don't know how I never made the connection because just that.
To be honest,
is so Primus.
I thought they were like who did the theme song for Friends?
Oh, fuck if I know, dude.
Exactly.
I had to sing that song in choir in high school.
That's the point I'm making. I thought they were one of those bands, just a fucking local Denver band that.
Matt
what
would
Trey
you even call that now? Like a public domain band,
everybody knows.
Nobody even knows who did the first.
Everybody
had that on their album
around the globe. Knows the theme song.
It's like Friends. It's like Christmas songs, right? Like, oh, who's
I'd be willing to bet
John Wayne has a Christmas album.
No,
like,
because
come on, man.
Okay, only Christians are gonna know like Christmas songs.
Well, yeah, but
everybody watches Friends. You can be at a fucking shack in nowhere, Laos, and they'll be doing reruns of Friends.
Yeah, but that's if they have
same with the Muslim world.
TVs, man. If you go to a place where they're not big on TVs, you'd be good. I think, right?
I think everybody knows.
They got it on VHS and shit. Even they're like, "Hey guys, it's time for Friends." Like, what the fuck? So, I've seen a lot of Friends. I never watched it as like, oh, I'm watching Friends. It was always something that was on when you were.
I never knew it was a continual story.
I did. It was one of those like Seinfeld things, right? Where it's like every episode's its own thing, but there is some kind of rambling overall.
I used to only watch it because it was a show right before The Simpsons came on.
You would call that like a series? It has like some kind of I don't know,
like a story arc.
Not really, though, because it's not like, oh, man, that thing that happened in the first episode is going to come back in the 20th. You know, it wasn't like that. It was more like, here's an individual story, but what they had was continuity. So, like, if this guy gets hurt in this one, he's still all messed up over here, even though it's not the same story anymore. It's like another episode where this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like, you see The Expanse, the show The Expanse?
I haven't watched it.
So it started on, I think, Sci-Fi, and then they did a season or two, and then they were dropping it for some reason. It got picked up by another place, and then the fourth season's even another place picking it up. You know, so it's all scattered all over the place. You're like, man, how's it holding it together? But when you watch it, it's it's obvious from the get-go that, okay, this is going to be like a series where everything that happens matters down the line. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just The Simpsons where you're like, oh, everything's okay at the end again, but it does continue. It's more.
I haven't.
I guess like the Seinfeld.
I haven't really
and
picked
Friends
up on a new
episodes.
show in a while. I didn't even finish the new season of Stranger Things.
I don't even turn my TV on. Now I still watch Netflix and stuff. And
I watch the same shit. I watch stand-up comedy and documentaries.
I'm out of stuff to watch. I've watched all the documentaries. I only like some stand-up. So,
is there any good docs that I should know about?
Oh man, I don't know about good or like new or groundbreaking. I'm trying to think of what I've watched that I actually was.
I'm into like a lot of the Ken Burns.
I've watched all the Ken Burns stuff.
Yeah.
I find it now, though, that it's slow.
What do you think of the Prohibition?
Slow. I think that...
I don't think it's slow.
Prohibition
I think
was
it's
stupid,
I think
I'm
it's
glad
detailed.
it was... No, I know what you're talking about.
I think it's detailed.
It is. It's probably one of the better ones because it's a lot smaller subject than, say, the Civil War or fucking Vietnam or something, where those aren't exactly little subjects. There's a lot of shit that happened during those.
That first
Prohibition is a relatively confined thing that you can,
that first episode where it kind of gets into like the reasoning of why we thought Prohibition was gonna be a good idea in the first place.
Let's just get this straight.
Made sense.
Some people had that idea, and they railroaded other people into going along with it. So you can't say we had that idea. That's fucked up.
Well, we as Americans, as a majority,
and I no longer do that. Like, oh, we as Americans, because like. Some Americans did that, and it affected everybody. But you don't say, like, we did this. Like, some of them were forced into that. Because there's people, obviously, that did not want anything to do with Prohibition, obviously. Yeah. Hence, the mob is created in mass in the U.S. Like
that's we were talking about video games earlier, and that's if you follow the story arc of Red Dead Redemption. And I've been getting balls deep into it.
But so far, I'm so into the beginning. I think we figured out we're both around the same place in the game. I don't really know. Like, I didn't play the first one, so I didn't know any of the characters other than I'd seen a little bit online and watched some people play.
They're pretty much all in the second one. The first one.
I'm not a big into the West. I've lived in the West my entire fucking life. Like,
so here's my pitch for the next Red Dead. Is spoiler alert. Like, so at the end of the first one, and I only know this because I watched the video on YouTube.
Yeah, see, and I don't care if it's spoiled because I'm never gonna actually go and like, oh man, I can't believe this is
I'll send you the
spoiled
video though, just so you can catch up on the story because it is pretty interesting. because you're playing a prequel in Red Dead 2.
Is there going to
so
be a third? So there has to be a third.
At the end of Red Dead
the
1,
trilogy.
like Jack is like an adult, and James Marsden gets shot up by the feds.
All right.
He gets double crossed or some shit and gets fucking shot up by the
That
feds.
seemed to already happen, like,
And
10
Jack,
times.
the little kid that you take fishing.
Oh yeah.
Remember when
the Pinkertons show up?
Yeah, remember when he the Pinkerton?
Yeah, the first time
he actually
you
ends
actually
up,
run
he
into the
kills
Pinkertons.
one of the older guys.
That kid kills one of those Pinkertons?
Not the main one, but the one that was the kind of the side guy.
Wait, that kid that you're fishing
the
with.
the guy that was hunting
Kills who?
He kills the guy that was duck hunting. It was the guy. He kills the guy with the shotgun.
All right.
But yeah, he kills him at the end of the first one, and it's I think like 19.
So
it's past 1911.
We're partly responsible for that murder down the line because we teach this kid everything we know, right?
What's interesting is he, when he meets the guy, he's fishing, and when he kills the guy is fishing. So
it's a circle of fishing.
I think you take.
So you know that you can.
I think you take Jack Marsden into 1920 and make him a gangster during Prohibition.
Shit, dude!
Like
he's
Chicago?
actually babyface or something, you know?
Yeah, no, like do it, like put him in Chicago, and you go to like Chicago, New York,
Make
Philly.
him a rival of or make him the guy that like sets up the routes for Capone or something,
or whatever. Yeah, like that would be dope. Imagine
there's
that
already
in
been
an open world.
the 20s games though, like that mob stuff. I mean, I
But
played
in an open
was
world.
it?
In an open world.
I don't know about open, but it was like you're in the what was that game? I can't even think about it. There was a like
If they made a GTA,
kind of
like
it is kind of
1920s.
it's like a GTA-ish of like exactly kind of what you're talking about in that 20th like in the big city where it's mob stuff, dudes
Yeah.
driving around in those big ass black cars and hanging out the windows with their Tommy guns and shit. Fucking
That would have been a time.
moonshiners.
That would have been a time to be alive, man.
I don't know because so I was watching the Ted Bundy diaries and I hadn't seen it until
I actually did watch that.
I hadn't seen it until just the other day. And I knew about Ted Bundy and stuff, like, it's happened
I knew of
before
the
I
name.
was born, so he was killed when I was very young.
I didn't know he had big Northwest ties.
I knew he's basically in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Killed the girl in Corvallis.
Of course, when you look at that, he was all over the goddamn country. He hit Utah, Colorado, and then once he escapes from Colorado,
like Florida.
twice, which I knew he escaped like custody. I didn't know he broke out. Just walked out the fucking door in Aspen. Basically, just jumped out that second story window.
Yeah.
Aspen, and of course he fucked up because they're like, there's only 2 roads in or out. Where's it gonna go? And I was like, and those hills are steep.
That'd be such a shitty fucking
You see,
prison.
you watch it. You see how he looks when he comes back. He's all emaciated and fucked up. But then that helps him escape again because he's all skinny as shit. And then he's through the hole. Anyways, he ends up in Florida where he kills all the sorority girls, a bunch of other people. And I was thinking, you can't do that today because he gets arrested and he's in custody for like 4 days and they have no fucking clue who he is. Like, who are you? And he's like, fuck you, basically.
Dude, I forgot the name of the serial killer that I went down a wormhole with serial killers. And
Well, you guys went out and like
it
captured some people and killed them, or what?
Came
dude?
up
'Cause
on my.
it's pretty fucked up.
I ended up on this dude's Wikipedia, and this guy, I believe he was from Seattle. There's a lot of serial killers in the Northwest.
Yeah, something wrong.
But this
Always
guy got away with something like, they think 70 murders. And it was completely random all over the country.
Like, what kind of target?
Just anybody.
So
he would just try to completely just never have an MO. And it was like, just random old couples. Like, he'd break into people's houses or he'd just get them in the park. Like, yeah, it was crazy. I wish I fucking remember the dude's name.
what was the time frame? Like, how long ago?
Recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's that most notorious guy now, or the most deadly? Some Russian dude or whatever, right?
I don't know.
I saw something. I don't know. I didn't pay that close attention because I saw serial killers. I was like, I don't care.
Pull that mic closer. You'll be fine. I don't know, man. It's a good wormhole to go down sometimes. There's a
Creepy,
bunch of
because you
fucking
start to
serial-
realize that there are a lot, and then it's like anything else. If you hear about one, there's probably 10.
Did you watch the Making a Murderer Part 2?
No, I only watched.
I watched the first episode and I was like, I'm good.
I only watched the first like season or whatever it was.
That was fine. That was cool.
And it was still messed up because that actually sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And what I found out is that they did just straight up admit the evidence that like slam dunk makes him look guilty as fuck, because he
Right.
was guilty as fuck. Like, and I appreciate that it was.
I think you gotta let Brandon Dassey or whatever.
What's that?
I don't think he had anything to do with it. The fucking retarded dude.
Wait, in Making a Murderer, you think the main guy
Well,
didn't?
no, Brendan Dassey.
His like nephew or whatever.
Yeah,
That kid was retarded. Okay, I get to go to WWE after like
I don't
yeah,
think he
dumb
did.
nuts. Just confess to murder, and then you get to go watch wrestlers. Like yeah, that kid was fucking stupid. Here's the thing, he got railroaded,
Hardcore.
but whether he did it or not, society's safer without him out there running
So,
around.
I
I don't actually be that because that's
I
fucked up. Like he's too stupid, I think, to actually intentionally hurt someone. He might like accidentally drive into your neighbor's barn and it kills your horse when his Camaro falls off its blocks or some stupid.
I
shit.
served with a guy who is from Manawak, and
I had forgotten that name until now. And
he
just
worked-
even the conjuring of that name, and I'm like,
okay. By the way, the best thing about that show is the accents, right?
dude, and the fact that that whole town is
And
like
he
could be the
had
same
that.
family.
He had that. He worked for the dude's uncle.
Fuck, man. Well, it's a small town, right? It was a population.
Tiny.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a place I grew up in. Well, I won't say I grew up, but I spent several years in Boulder, where when you drive in, it's one of those places where the population is literally printed on the sign. And the day we moved in, there's some dude out there like adding 5 to it. You know what I mean? Like,
I need to tell you what I've been trying to conspire to do, because I realized that it's going to suck to be a fucking old cripple.
dude,
Here's the plan.
don't worry. We'll destroy the planet before you have a chance to be an old cripple, and then we're good.
I hope we don't do it. I hope that it's just an asteroid.
Honestly, I don't really care how it happens as long as I get to either see it or it doesn't happen for like another 10,000 years
Super
after.
volcano.
Fucking, that's terrifying, because if that one that they're all, like in Yellowstone ever really could go up as
Yeah.
Vegas is dead within like 45
Oh,
minutes,
I'd
I
be
think.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom, gone. And not even like, and uninhabitable. Like, no, you're buried under miles of pumice and fucking ash. You'll all be scorched, and maybe a million years from now, they'll be talking about Vegas like Pompeii. Like, oh, look at all these idiots at the slot machine, just perfectly
just strippers fucking halfway
on
down
the
a pole. Yeah.
People be like, whoa. They must have had
some
gravity-defying technology.
Some kind of temple they got their offerings.
We've obviously gone back because these people had gravity-defying shit. Look at this. This woman's levitating.
Like, it must be some kind of church. Got their offerings. No, but the plan I've been looking at in Colorado is just like ranches, like $4 million ranches.
What
like
about them?
1,000 acres. Fucking go in with like 10 other dudes.
And buy a
big ass ranch that we could all fucking live in.
All right.
Make it
so
accessible.
Here's the thing. You were just talking about you're worried about being an old-ass cripple, and then you want to move to a place that has pretty warm summers, freezing fucking winters, and the highest mountain range in the country.
Yeah, we're never going to leave.
I lived just outside of Denver, and I love Colorado, but that was a different time. That Colorado's dead because they legalized pot first, and then everybody rushed there and kind of killed it. But
it's still a fun town.
the hills, I can't do it anymore.
We
Like,
would-
even the
we would
littlest,
never. No. The thing is, we would
build a perfectly flat ranch, like just bulldoze that shit.
and we would never have to leave. We could set
A
up fucking.
compound. So
could-
now we're waiting until the FBI kicks down our door and burns us all to death or something.
It's essentially like the Oscar Mike compound. 2.0.
Oh, dude, could you imagine?
I actually
like,
want to call it the colony.
the colony, the Crip colony.
Yeah, Cripple Creek colony.
You have like a stable, but it's just dudes old every day and shit. Like,
Dude, if it was a stable and we fucking like insulated that shit, we could put each of us in a stall and just live squad base style.
no, I already know that I can live off like nothing practically.
Yeah, and then we'd set up like a fucking cool ass gaming room.
See, you're talking like not end of the world shit. You're talking just a general plan. I thought you were talking like end of the days shit. I'm like, none of this makes sense to me because why the fuck would a bunch of cripples move to a compound if the world was going to shit around them? But
No, I'm talking about retiring.
Yeah, I don't think Colorado's the place you should be looking at though. Like you said, expensive probably. Nowhere's flat. That's gonna be good.
Dude, as long as I don't have to leave the house.
Well, if you're not leaving the house, it doesn't matter where you go. Build an underground bunker, right?
Yeah,
so
but what's
that
nice
you have
is,
like no bills because that shit's just cooled automatically, heated.
What's nice is though, like we still would have the hills. If we wanted to go out riding or side by sides. There's still elk hunting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Utah might be good if you're willing to just ignore some state laws.
By then, it's gonna be federally legal.
No, I'm not even talking about weed. I'm just talking about Utah's pretty fucking weird in aspects to a lot of stuff, like alcohol is one instant.
Yeah, but like we'd have a fucking we'd let one dude live with us.
Timland, we made our own.
No,
laws.
we'd let one dude live with us, and his job is just to go fucking run in the grocery store whenever we want shit. Or by then,
dude, if it's not the end of the world, you just have everything delivered.
Everything's gonna be delivered.
Yeah, you just figure out what
that's
you want.
how my boy,
of course,
my boy Mike lives in Colorado Springs, and that's what he does. He Uber Eats every single meal,
and so
gets fucking Fiji water delivered from Amazon.
If you're getting packaged stuff delivered to you, I could see how that would be okay, unless you were worried about the stuff you were getting being fucked with by the middle person. But why would they do that? Some people would do that.
I'm fortunate where I live.
But the Uber Eats and stuff, if you're ordering from like restaurants, I read an article recently that was like, what the fuck? This is really happening. So people are starting up these virtual restaurants where they're like, oh yeah, Uber Eats, we deliver. You can order lasagna and all this shit. And then they're going to the grocery store. They're buying frozen fucking meals. They're heating them up in a microwave and charging this dude like $12 for this delivered piping hot lasagna that actually costs like $4.50, and it's gross as shit because it's a fucking microwave meal.
I just watched a video on YouTube on Vice did a piece on this dude in Israel got tired of getting screwed over by all the fees and regulations to run a legit burger shack.
Just a straight up burger shack.
Yeah, so he did he goes underground and you have to have a secret WhatsApp number. And the waiting list is like 6 months. And when he gets
So it's like the black market of bomb ass hamburgers or what?
Apparently, yeah.
This is in Israel?
Yeah. And he
Why are there such strict
they delivered on
fees
moped.
and regulations against burger shops in Israel?
He kind of explains it like you gotta like pay for certain signage and then pay for the inspections and shit. Like
all these fucking cripples making you have your door wide enough, and
it's not that. It's not even accessible. It's not even accessible. Yeah.
So
every fucking restaurant has
I've been looking into some ADA laws just as they pertain to like public streets and shit because Henderson's got some really funky stuff going on. A lot of the ways I go are like nice paths where it's like asphalt and it's just like a windy path. Yeah. It's like better than a sidewalk, right? There's not all the fucking divisions and stuff. But a lot of places just have janky or missing sidewalks where you're like cruising along and then there's just 8
feet
stops where it's just like a pit of dirt and you're like, what the fuck? I got to go all the way back now, like 2 blocks. And a lot of times go against traffic in the street because I'm just like, yo, fuck it, y'all stop me. Like, I'll fix this shit.
That happened with me. I did a marathon in Oregon, and we went around this lake. It was a nice little pathway, and then there was one part where it was washed out, so we had to go off.
That's a little bit different, though, because you're like, oh, man, nature just came through and fucked that up. Like,
yeah.
These things I'm talking about are like somebody just took the day off.
I was in my rugby chair, and I was like, fuck, I got to go through this loose gravel.
Oh, see.
I was like, I hope I don't get stuck.
I wouldn't even attempt that with a rugby chair, because as soon as those casters on the outside are like, oh, I hit a little, oh, God, your main wheels are just spinning, and you're like, yay.
Well, it was either that or go all the way back around the fucking lake.
Did you make it through?
Yeah. I fortunately was just like, fuck it, just
Man, so
hit it with speed.
like if I leave now,
That actually happened with me in Vegas.
What?
They were doing construction on one part of the
oh my god,
on one part of the course.
right down, down in downtown Henderson, they don't even mark it. And I was just cruising through one day, and I get all the way to the under end of the block, and then they're like, it's gone. It just tore the fuck up, and there's dudes standing around like, oh yeah, the sidewalk's closed. I'm like, oh yeah, I noticed the sign. Because there wasn't one, and I was like, what the fuck, and just like a real dick about it too, because I'm like, dude, what the fuck, like, how about holler at a brother, like, yo, there's a pit on this end, man, unless you can pull a Jesus and just walk across this shit, you ain't getting across.
Have you gotten that power chair in any sticky situations?
So when I first started using it, and I only use it when I like cruise out to the dispensary and shit, like I said, like I got it because man, if I leave the house now in my everyday, I'm scared of the littlest hill and shit.
Yeah.
Like up, not so bad still. I think you always knew how it was with me. I could go up a little bit, but going down, man, I'm like, the slightest little thing down, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm just freewheeling and die. So I use that. But when I first started going out, I was like on the sidewalk, and I instantly realized sidewalk sucks. All these divisions are like, dun, 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 fuck that. So I would use the road or the paths. The paths are nice; they're pretty smooth. But there's a spot right in the main downtown Henderson where that hospital is. St. Rose.
Is that Winter Street or whatever?
Which one?
Winter. Is it called Winter Street?
Winter.
White Street? I don't know. I just noticed it.
I'm not sure.
When you're coming here on the main drag, and then on the right, there's that big ass sign. The street's all lit up. It's like downtown Henderson.
Oh, Water Street.
Water Street.
Yeah. That is downtown. So if you like turn onto Water Street, you run into City Hall and shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
I never actually.
So I have to
It
pass
seems pretty
there,
cool.
right? But on like right in that general area, you know where that hospital is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got the oldest sidewalk, I assume, in the entire fucking state by the states of it. Like
Yeah.
it looks like the surface of the moon. What you could tell is when they first put it down, the trees were already there and they were dropping shit.
Dropping like acorns and shit.
Yeah, as it was still really wet cement. And so then they just came through after and knocked all that shit out. So it's just like all fucked up. But over the decades of it being there, it's chipped up even more to where it's just the surface of the moon now. Really harsh on the chair. And then they had just paved the hospital's parking lot, like all brand new, super smooth looking asphalt. And I was like, if I can just squeeze through this little section right here, which just looks like kind of hard packed gravel, I'll be good. Like cruise through there, top speed, and it'd be nice and smooth. Fuck that sidewalk. And so I go, and I'm like, oh, okay, not too bad. I go, and I go through. Cool. And I must have used that path for, I don't know, like 7 or 8 times. The 9th or 10th time going through there, just confident as fuck, I rolled right into it and went, and it just buried itself for some reason. And I realized they dug it up. Like, they either saw that I was going through there and got mad.
Somebody was fucking with you.
Yeah, somebody got mad, and so they set, like, a tank trap for me. And all they had done is, like, dug it up to where it was now loose sand and a loose bed of rocks, right? And I mean, we're talking
I wonder if it was of someone pulling a prank on you. No,
so what I think it is a few times I was going through, I could see what I assumed was the groundskeepers. And I think they're not like a hire out company. I think they work for the hospital. Right?
Okay.
And so they saw me cutting through this obviously majestic, beautiful 8 feet of fucking gravel. And they got mad, and I don't know. I mean, there's no other reason why I could figure just one day it was all of a sudden just this, like, quicksand almost with, it looked almost, it looked the same. I couldn't notice because I just bombed right into it. But it buried the chair up to, like, the halfway point on the wheel to where it's like, I'm like, if I keep going, these motors are just going to light on fire. The wheels aren't spinning. So what the fuck am I going to do? I'm in, like, the main intersection in Henderson, and like crackheads are walking by there every 15 minutes.
What time of day was this?
Yeah, it was the middle of the day. But every
time of year,
like July.
So you were baking.
It was hot as fuck. It was like 110. Yeah, really hot. Jeez. But at least there's a big tree that would cast like shade to where it was only 105. But I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? I got my phone. I don't go out without it. I'm like, shit. My dad's at the house. So I call my dad, and I was like, hey, come with the truck. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, I got stuck.
Bring a tow rope.
He's like, what the fuck? I got stuck, and I told him where I was, and he was like, I'll be right there. And he showed up a couple minutes later, and all he had to do was like get low on it and really just push it. It's going. And then once I got grip, I just was like, fuck it, I'm not stopping. I went out. It's only a small gap. But after that, I was like, okay, fuck that gap. Fuck all gaps. I'm not shooting anything that looks like somewhat sketchy, because I don't want to get in that position where it's just like, somebody could come up and rob you at that point. You're fucked. Like, hey, get back here. Back. What are you going to do, man? I swear, I'll kick your ass.
I saw your face.
Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I got your phone, bitch. Fuck. Like, but now I'm actually surprised at how much shit that thing can go through, because I occasionally still test it where I'll see something that looks kind of sketch, but I'm like, I'm going to ease into it and see, like, if it feels, it feels like, no problem. Bog right through.
Power chair rock crawling?
Not so much rock crawling, but I mean, it can actually go through a lot more than I imagined.
I actually high centered my track chair last time I went hunting.
Your track chair?
Yeah, I high centered it on a fucking mound.
Damn.
Yeah, it's actually
pretty, like big mound, but like
no, they don't have really great like ground clearance.
Yeah.
Like maybe not much more than my foot plate. 8.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm just envisioning
8
like
inches, maybe.
Yeah, I can't really.
It's
picture
got
in my head.
it's got all the battery boxes and shit down there.
Oh, plus the way you're sitting, like your toes are practically on the ground. So.
Yeah, they're about like 10 inches off.
How'd you get it stuck? Just
going over a mound.
And just
yeah, I was just like trying to rock it loose, and I was with this 11-year-old kid, and I was like, "Hey, go grab that log over there and shove it in the track." And
did they get you off, or did you just walk off eventually? Yeah.
I had to fucking call. I had to call we had another couple guys in a UTV. I had to call them back, and they fucking gave me so much shit.
But they do just push you out, though?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, getting stuck in a car or something is, like, almost exciting to me. Like, I've been in some pretty fucking...
I've been stuck on the beach.
I've been in some pretty hairy situations, but when you're stuck in your chair or even, like, a power chair or whatever, you're like, man, this is horrible. You feel completely just trapped. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, at least when you're in the car, you got the radio.
That's what I'm saying. You feel more like I'm stuck in a little mini house or something. You know, you're like, I'm not that.
I can wait.
I could turn on the heater. You know,
I can wait this out.
But when you're just in your chair or something and like something fucks up, I mean, imagine you're out and your axle just falls off for some stupid reason, and you realize like your shit's all fucked up and it won't lock in.
Dude, I fell out of my chair. I was coming back from the barber shop, and I like had to park in this neighborhood. It was like in this cool part of Portland, off like Division, kind of like a hip area. And I parked in this neighborhood, and for some reason I didn't have my foot strap on. And I go to open my door, and it's on kind of a hill, and I didn't bother to set my brakes. And somehow my foot slips out from underneath me, and I just fucking go down to my knees, down to the floor.
Right out of the front, yeah.
And I was just like, fuck. And fortunately, these two gay dudes were walking their dogs, and
fortunately they were gay because
picked me up. It has nothing to do with the story. But they were. So I mean, we're just
I got you.
Yeah, I was just like, hey,
because then they had a quick threesome, and then they helped.
I was a little bit worried. I was like, if they were like,
they're like, hey,
if they were like just fucking mental, they could have just picked me up and just ran me into the house real quick.
So I've seen some questionable minds on some people out there where you're just like, I'm gonna go 8 feet this direction just to make sure I give like a bubble around you, because you don't know what some people are gonna do.
Well, there was an old man with a walker and two big gay dudes with their small like poodle or whatever.
They helped you out.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm sorry guys, I just slipped.
Did your chair take off like down the hill?
Mm-mm.
That's at least luck.
Yeah, because the hill was pointing towards the truck. I think that's probably what really fucked me up. I should have just set the brakes.
I hate fucking hills. Like, even when you were out here in our driveway.
Driveways, man.
How you get out onto a slope, I hate it, because I'm like, instantly, I'm just like, I feel all off balance.
I was still in my old chair, though. My new chair, the box chair for sure could handle the driveway fine. And then my other everyday, that's all fucked up. The push rims are all chewed up right now. But that one I probably could have just kind of slalomed up. But my old chair, my black Tylite, I
You'd
fucking
died.
remember the one with the hill climbers.
You'd have went over backwards and shit.
No, I would have had to.
Dude,
I gone up
wasn't
it before.
it you that ate shit in San Diego? Who were?
I
no.
ate shit actually down in your driveway one time, didn't I?
I don't remember you too.
I think I did.
I smashed into your van at Austin's.
That motherfucker was steep. That one I would have to. So my left side is stronger, so I'd start on the right side of the driveway, and then inch my way across, and then pull straight back.
And you're basically doing like switchbacks almost horizontal because that shit was so steep.
Yeah, but I was always facing one direction, so it was kind of like going through cones.
And I was never very good at that because when I would go to change even the slightest direction, I would lose that one side, and then you just do a complete. That's how I ate shit on that driveway. Remember, I was trying to go down it all sideways and lost one side, spun, and then just.
Oh, and you fell out, right?
No, because I smashed into your like clutch.
The old stormtrooper.
I smashed into the van, like
the old bang bus.
But he had that gravel there, so I like skidded through the gravel, down the curb, boom, into the van, but still in the chair, like win, I guess.
You were with me a couple times because I had those stupid hill climbers to get up my ramp van.
Mm-hmm.
And you were with me a couple times where it get knocked out of place and like the left one would catch, but the right one wouldn't, and I go up the ramp and I'd start rolling back, and just be stuck, like chest in the lap, fucking can't go forward, can't go backwards,
because they were just like a ratchet, right?
Yeah, that's all they were. I actually so I switched to a truck because I, saw Connor getting in and out of his, and I fucking took that seat for a test drive. I was like, oh,
this
fuck.
is a lot easier.
I was like, if this fucking weak ass 0.5 can do it,
that's
exactly what I thought. I was like, if this weak ass 0.5 can do it, like, why am I? The truck's changed my life. Because like now, like awesome. I can go. It's opened up freedom for me. I can go anywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah, actually, the last. I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast before, but the last road trip I was on, I drove out to Colorado Springs to hang out with one of the new rugby players. His name's Mike. He's a big, actually, Twitch gamer.
All right.
But yeah, he like beta tested like the Xbox accessories.
Oh, that adaptive controller?
Yeah.
That thing is badass. When I first saw it, I was like, this is like kind of interesting because
let me finish this Denver story, then we'll jump to the adaptive controller because I do want to talk about gaming with you. So I was driving. We went to go see a burlesque show in Denver, like a Suicide Girl burlesque show, which is dope as fuck. And then I start driving from Denver to trying to get to Boise. I'm going to spend the night over at Spencer Laramore's
house. This was in your truck?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I get like outside Utah, stop at a Walmart to get some water and coffee, like little Starbucks, like double shots.
Yeah.
And I could start getting in my seat and it starts glitching out.
Like shaking or what?
The remote kept just fading in and out, like losing power.
Okay.
And so the seat would kind of
like
move. Yeah. And I fucking was able to like finagle the cable, get it in.
Was it just that the cable was loose or what?
The cable was disconnected, but not from the remote,
like
from the box end.
The part you can't get to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was able to get the seat into like a driving position, but I was like, well, I can't fucking stop in Boise. So I'm not gonna be able to get in and out of my truck. Like you can
stop, but you can't get out.
Right. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna have to marathon at home. And I fucking drove.
How long did that take?
I left Denver at like 1 p.m. and I got into Portland at like 8 a.m.
All because of like some fucking punk ass switch that just eventually shook itself out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that sucks, man.
It was middle of the fucking night. I think it was a Friday the 13th full moon in September. And I was like, well, I've never hit a deer before, but if it's going to fucking happen, it's going to be tonight. It's going to go right through the windshield and fucking kill me.
What's your truck?
I was in my diesel, so it's a Chevy 2500, but it's got a big ass fucking.
You'd have been all right when it comes.
Big ass fucking hammerhead.
The shit would have bounced off the front.
Yeah, I got a big ass fucking bumper. Like
you have to have a pretty like low vehicle actually to have it come through the windshield on you. Mostly cars.
That happened to a buddy of mine in high school. His grandma hit a horse.
Now, that would suck, because you're talking deer,
killed her
horse.
Instantly.
Horse is like, what? Probably the weight of 3 deer, 4 deer,
yeah,
5 deer. A lot bigger than a deer.
A lot dense. A lot more dense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, Mike, he was the one that got me into gaming. I spent like 2 nights at his place.
And me and Shock tried to get you into gaming, and you were like,
yeah.
I can't hold the controller. I'm just a 0.5. Like.
Well, and also, you know, what I was really afraid of was getting addicted again.
Oh, like that time with Smack.
Exactly. Dude, it's honestly a fucking drug.
No, like there's people that have serious problems with it for sure. I mean, you look at kids that are like, no, they're just freaking out on their parents, and their parents are too scared to even do it. They're like, hey, motherfucker threw the computer at me because I tried to turn off his World of Warcraft account or something or whatever. Like, but yeah, I mean, did you get hooked on gaming before or something?
I used to be kind of balls deep, but we had a rule in the house where I couldn't play video games except for Friday after school until.
So this is as you're like a kid.
Yeah, until Sunday at 9. So
So
I would go on binges.
and you're in the camp that then later has the problems where I might get hooked on.
I think
this
that's
shit.
what the problem was.
So I
right?
think there's this area where either it's restricted too much, so you later latch onto it, or you're just given wide open to where nobody gives a fuck, and then they become like game junkies.
Dude, that
and
explains
then
a lot about my personality.
There's like my family. I mean, I remember the day coming home from school. I was in grade school, and I turn out of the corner of this little alley between these two houses where I could look down the street and see our house down on the corner. And I see my brother already like out front, jumping up and down, waving his arms, trying to get my attention. And he's 2 years younger than me, but by that time he was already a lot bigger than me. And I'm like, what the fuck is this crazy? And he's yelling, and I'm like, I can't hear him yet. So he starts kind of running towards me, and he's like, come on, hurry up. All right, whatever. Something's going on. So I hurry up and I go home, and lo and behold, there on the ground is a Nintendo, right? Like the original Nintendo. And I had no like even clue that this thing just showed up. It was like magic. My dad was like, "Yeah, I got a Nintendo." I didn't even know about it. Like, this thing's awesome. Yeah. All it had was like Mario and Duck Hunt. The gun we had, it was badass. And so we were playing, and we were just allowed to play with it. And I don't think we ever kept just playing. So nobody ever was like, you have to stop playing, because we just played until we got tired or bored and went and did something else, because we were always playing outside, riding our bikes and shit. Yeah. We were always riding our bikes and shit, like doing all kinds of crazy stuff that kids nowadays, I don't think a lot of them get that same experience because it's a lot sketchier.
Yeah, I think if I would have just gotten like that one hit, 1 hour a day.
To where it wasn't
after homework
regulated to you, to where it was just like, you can do it, but just don't overdo it.
Because Friday, dude, I used to just fucking come home and play like Final Fantasy until like 2 a.m.
So
go to bed, wake up at like 11.
Final Fantasy is a hell of a drug. So it's like World of Warcraft. Those games can just wreck people.
Oh yeah, dude. When I got into computer games.
Yeah.
I used to play. I got actually pretty nerdy. I played this. It was kind of like EverQuest, but it's called Ultima Online UO.
Okay.
I got just balls deep.
Was it like free or something, or did you have to pay for it?
No, it was $10 a month, and I would split the account with my brother and my cousin, and we couldn't log in at the same time.
That's something I could never do, because I was like, no, we can split like the overall account, but there's no way I'm letting someone else play my character. Dude, you're gonna fuck up my
$10 a month when I was a kid, though, man. That was a lot of money.
Even when I was a kid, though, I was always like, that's my guy or whatever. Like, if you could have your own character, it's like, you can't fucking play on my character. Make your own character.
Yeah, no, we would play in different regions or whatever, but no, I would just fucking play for like 4 or 5 hours.
I think about kind of gaming now, and it's a trip because, my niece and nephews and like the stuff they have access to would have probably destroyed me if I was a kid. And like VR, I'd be like,
I don't think I would have ever learned how to ride a bike.
No, same here.
You're like,
I never would have.
What the fuck's the
I would
point?
have been like physical manual. Fuck that thing, dude. Like put a battery on it.
Yeah, why
give me
do
a throttle and
give
now
me
we're
a
talking.
No, I'll do a hoverboard.
Dude, an electric bike even. I'd have been like, wait, you mean I don't even have
those scooters, those
something.
stupid Lime scooters.
And that's what they all have now. But I mean, and I sound all this shit like saying that, but it's true. We had like ghetto electric toys. Like the ghetto was fucking like.
Dude, you remember the
like the shit only would work for a little while.
Remember the racing game with the steering wheel?
I don't think we ever had. Like,
and it was
anything
just
as
like
cool
it was
as
like
what the
just
store-
red. It was like you look on the dashboard, it was like the screen.
Yes.
It was just red.
Yeah, but it was like not even like LCD. It was like
whatever it was. Yeah,
like
my cousin had that, and I would always go over and play it over at his place. Dude.
I remember the first computer game, like the first PC game I ever saw that blew my mind was the original Civilization. And if you look at it now, you're like, how the fuck was that a game? It just looks like some weird blocky shit.
Dude, I got you know what I got balls deep into was Roller Coaster Tycoon.
See, and I never really played any of the big. I played actually okay, so I would at least try out a lot of those tycoon games or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you get to build an amusement park or some shit. But I never like made anything cool because I'd always get bored and I'm like, I needed.
Dude,
almost,
it was a fucking time warp.
yeah,
Man.
and I almost needed like the mission and shit. Where like, hey, those games they're just like go build a bunch of shit and don't crash your economy and whatever. And I was like, man, you gotta wait to build funds.
And then I got introduced to like StarCraft online. Was it StarCraft 2 online?
I don't think I ever played it.
You never played StarCraft?
No. There's a lot of big games that people are like got hooked on.
Warcraft was cool. Counter-Strike was cool.
Counter-Strike was cool.
Yeah. There was one online, Tenaris. It was like a tank game, and you would like just go. There was like 6 different tanks you can choose from, and then you would just have these giant arena battles
against each other or against like bots.
You had teams against each other.
All right.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Online, like it was dope.
I remember when online gaming was like a pain in the fucking ass because you had to like.
You'd always lag out and shit.
Well, not just that, but you had to log in and then you had to go into a lobby. Where now it's like you turn it on and you're in the lobby, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You click play and it match makes you. You had to go find the server that your buddies are on. And
the Xbox One.
How'd you spell it?
Okay, so my last system before the Xbox One that I just bought like a month ago or 2 months ago was the PlayStation 2.
And now you're gonna force me to go spend a bunch more money because I'm pretty sure Shock still has his Xbox One. But I sold mine to my sister, and now, man, everybody has an Xbox One again. I got all pissed off at it and was like, I don't care.
The Xbox 2 comes out next year.
Oh, see, and
they'll probably be backwards compatible.
I just noped Beck right the fuck out. I was like, yeah, nope. As soon as I buy one, they'll bring out the next best thing. Like, guess what? All your games are shit. Because even though it is backwards compatible, it just will not be good.
Yeah, I don't know. I see myself playing Red Dead Redemption. I could probably get a year out of it, and then I'll probably move on to the Tom Clancy Breakpoint.
No, because by the time that year with Red Dead is up, then Tom Clancy will be like dead, and nobody will be playing that shit. Those games only last like a few months. Seriously, people just like are like, they get bored with it and they just leave. Unless you're doing
I have a lot of catching up to do. Like I want to try to find
there was the
Grand Theft Auto 5. I never played 4. The last one I played was San Andreas.
I did 5 and completed the story. At least like, one of the endings. I know there's probably a lot of different ways that it can end. And then I started playing online and was like, man, this online experience for this game fucking sucks. It's literally just like, imagine the worst neighborhood in LA, but they're all just said, there are no more laws. So you're just like, get shot in the head. You're like, oh, this is exciting. I'll go dead again. Oh, some dude blew you up with a fucking RPG. Oh, some guy just launched a goddamn rocket from that jet. And
do you like the online play in Red Dead?
I only played like maybe 2 hours of it. And so you're just getting set up. So it's kind of like getting into the story, really. It's mission driven. You got to go do this, go do that.
I would just try to go kill other players.
And I don't think I saw any until after like the first hour.
Yeah.
And then I started.
The map's so big.
And then it was just, I think you're kind of maybe segregated too, to where you're there, but you're blacked out from everybody. You know what I mean? So that you don't just get straight up murdered while you're like, welcome to Red Dead. You know what I mean? Because that's basically what GTA 5 had a problem with. It was like, hey, you're in GTA. Oh, you're dead. Like the cutscene didn't even finish. Somebody just drove by and ran you the fuck over or blew you up or whatever.
I like the open world games though.
Yeah. It's hard to go back to where you have to like load into a zone or
like Call of Duty.
There's
like you got to run on a track and it's like run around, shoot 'em up.
No, I mean, and those have their place for sure. Like, imagine a big ass open world like the size of Red Dead, but it's just like a first person shooter game. That'd actually be kind of boring.
I have Battlefield.
Which one?
5.
And see, I didn't.
And Battlefield 1.
I didn't buy the last.
It came with the Xbox.
All right, the last one I did.
I haven't loaded it
was
up.
Battlefield 4, and I bought that game twice because I bought it on the Xbox 360. And then I bought it on the Xbox One because it was like the transition game for those consoles, right? Came out on both of them. And it had so much fucking problems when it first launched. But it was a dope game overall. I mean, it looked really good. It's, Battlefield games are usually pretty fun. And now with the direction they went to Battlefield 1, I was like, you know what? I don't want those shitty old World War I weapons. Like, I don't want that.
You want the red dot?
I want a fucking, like a Browning automatic. I want I want like a Mod Deuce or something on a truck. I don't want this water-cooled piece of shit Vickers or whatever the fuck these things are. Like they still got paper casings on them. Like, man, no, this isn't my war. It's kind of weird to say, but I just wasn't interested in.
I started watching
like all the old tanks and shit. I'm like, man, give me
World War One was pretty dope. And I've been kind of like...
So the actual conflict blows my mind.
It's insane.
And it spanned the whole globe. More so than World War II almost.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. But as a gameplay style, I was like, I don't want to look at that tank, dude. Like, that's the original tank. It's like the Mark II or whatever. You know why they call it II? Because it's the second motherfucking one they ever did. Like, it's a piece of shit. That gun that guy's using is a piece of shit. Like, how are they raising each other? They didn't have that kind of medicine. Like, it was literally, oh, you got shot. You're fucked, dude. Like, get him to the back of the trench, and then he just dies a trench rot and shit. But I just didn't like the weapons and the vehicles and stuff. You get into World War II, you got a lot better vehicles. Still pretty crap vehicles compared to modern warfare type stuff, right?
Way better guns.
Way better guns. Like the technology from World War I to World War II is the difference between, like sticks and fucking iron swords.
Well, Vietnam and Iraq.
So even from World War II to Vietnam, there's another leap of technology, right? Laser-guided bombs, shit like that. Still in its infancy, pretty crappy. Still, for the most, just unguided, dumb bombs dropping all over the place. But by the time we hit,
I'd say even Gulf War.
Gulf War is the defining war where it said, welcome to the modern age. There is literally now a dude that can be in an office in America and push a button, and a missile will fly through your asshole and rip your colon out on the way.
But then Iraqi freedom, when you started
technology had improved,
Predator drones,
but nothing groundbreaking to where it's like, oh my god, that's leap and bounds. That's just dude, that's the next gen shit from all the stuff we used in the last war.
UAVs
are just
huge.
F-16s without a dude in it. They're the same size. They're big as fuck. I thought they were small when I first started seeing them, and you're like, the Predator. I imagined it was the size of this desk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they're
just as big as a...
They're a game changer, though, as far as war.
Dude, you're talking about put up a Global Hawk, and you're like, oh, when does it need to land? Was it February? How about September, maybe? We got a tanker somewhere. That bitch can stay up there forever. Literally forever. The engine might explode at some point, but it'll still glide for several hours. This shit's crazy. Oh, and it carries a couple Hellfires, carries
right.
all kinds of shit. What do you want? We'll just dial it up and bomb the shit out of some stuff. Those pilots are, not too far from here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in some shitty shipping containers, out in the middle of a fucking desert.
In a fucking...
You can drive right down the main road and just look off and see them.
Nice-ass office chair.
And, the dopest gaming system ever, but it's actually ghetto compared to, modern-day pro gamers when you compare the two, because you're like, damn, sick graphics, and you're just like, that's multi-millions of dollars worth of hardware, but it does the same thing as that $500 computer.
Government,
just does it, ruggedly.
That fucking defense budget.
Is, okay, so I'm all for big-ass defense budget and having top dog shit, but we could have so much more than we have and still spend a lot less if there was just a lot smarter people and less corrupt people in charge. We're spending money on tanks and then leaving them in place after one conflict. Bitch, that thing's like several $1 million, even when it's been blown up. Bring that shit back to the States and sell it. I'll buy one. You know what I mean? Like, don't leave that shit in place. Trucks. I understand after World War II why they just were like, fuck it. Keep everything. You know what I mean? Because who wants to bring that shit back?
I was listening to a podcast with Eric Prince, the founder of Blackwater. And
Fuck that guy.
He made a really good case for mercenaries in Afghanistan.
No, there is no good case in a modern setting for mercenaries unless you're in a Bond film or something.
Well, it's kind of the point that you were just making.
It's
where
pretty fucked up. Dude, the fact that the government now supplies the troops with bottled water instead of just the way that we've done it for the whole fucking time.
It's water buffaloes.
Yeah! And all the millions of dollars of infrastructure and training that they've brought up to, hey, we got water, guys. They can turn literal shit water into drinking water.
Think about the cost of...
I get the convenience of it. And I mean, it sucks.
Well, even just using a military flight to fly, drop
military
supplies.
People?
Drop supplies.
Yeah.
When you can use a civilian plane to do the same thing.
But what's cheaper?
Civilian.
Do you think?
By a long shot.
They already own the plane. All they really need is the budget to keep it in the air and put fuel in it.
Yeah, and they don't.
Whereas the civilian ones, you're paying some corporation to transfer your soldiers who should be in military aircraft. Like, I understand shipping them from, like the States to a theater on commercial because it just makes sense. They handle the logistics and you just buy a bunch of tickets and send these dudes over, and you don't have to have like a schedule because those airlines already have schedules and shit, so you just do it. But we send dudes on commercial, like even for short hops and stuff.
Right.
And it's stupid. We'll have people ferry aircraft while the crew for that aircraft flies commercial. Why didn't they fly the aircraft?
It costs way more to run.
It's going anyways. It had to get there. And so they also paid for these guys to get there instead of just having them fly it. You could have got a training mission on the way there, but instead they just ferry these aircraft there. Then these dudes show up. That means you had to pay those guys to fly it. It still had to be maintained because you still flew it. You still got to put gas in it. You still just put miles on it. Like, you should have let the pilots and the crew take it. Yeah, maybe they didn't want to, or who wants to fly over the pond or whatever, but I just think there's a lot of ways where you could cut out a ton of waste and have it even, like, meaner machine, because you'd be like, you see all those Abrams? Those are just the ones that are like left over from the last war. Dude, you should see the next ones.
I went with Mason to go get his military ID, and the fucking Army like reserve center they had these bags full of fucking ballpoint pens and markers and shit,
like the standard government blue ink.
Yeah,
and shit.
And they were like, hey, we got to give these out because we're coming up on our like fiscal year.
And if they find it in our supply, they're not going to buy us another big ass box
Yeah.
of pens. See, that's the kind of shit that is fucked up, because if you just stopped that, it'd probably save billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Fucking billions
Well,
of dollars. Dude,
if that
the guy
reserve
that figured
center
out turning right for UPS saved them billions of dollars.
Right.
I'm pretty sure if you stop abandoning your equipment, you'll save a lot more money. But I understand why they do it. Get rid of that shit. We get new shit.
Yeah.
We supply the manufacturing. Like, we're paying these companies to build this shit. Yeah. They all also own stocks in all those companies because they're all their cousins and brothers.
I think the tissues are made from like blind people.
The what?
It's like the Kleenex that we use like in the VAs.
Did you just say made from blind people?
I think it's made in a factory full of blind, like they employ like blind people. It says it on the box.
As like
it says this box of tissues.
That's their like equal opportunity employer type thing.
Yeah,
like,
well, because that's government.
You know what it is? It's so they're like, yeah, these guys are all blind, and they're like, here's your pay, and they're like, oh, thank you. And it's just.
Did you ever watch War Dog?
Yeah. Actually, I never finished War Dog. I started watching it, and I don't remember why, but I didn't finish it. I don't think it had anything to do with it. Something came up, and then it was like I just never jumped back in.
Great fucking movie.
It's got
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, Jonah Hill, and that's the one where he lost a ton of weight and first started looking like skinny Jonah Hill, right?
I thought he was fat. I can't remember.
Maybe I think in that one, like, he thinned up.
Maybe he was.
Because there's a normal first Jonah Hill we ever get introduced to big time is Fat Jonah Hill.
Yeah,
And then he turns into like regular looking dude.
Maybe
and it almost doesn't look like him.
I think he did that for Wolf of Wall Street.
But I think this comes after that, so he is that skinny still, right? Because why would you just be like, I'm gonna
Apparently
just go
he's a
right
fucking jiu-jitsu practitioner.
dude, from a few things I've seen with him, just like quick little interviews or things, he seems like a really just kind of, he can pick something up and be like, I'm going to go do that. And be badass at it. Because I guess anybody could do that if you put your mind to it. But
that movie is 100% accurate. Like, there is an actual website where you can go and find government contracts for fucking
so you should
pencils.
You should do that on the podcast sometime. Just like, in the amount of time you have a podcast, can you buy some black market arms and shit? Can you get like a Ukrainian fucking like, anti-personnel fucking missile, or can you get like a troop carrier or something?
Well, there's all sorts of fucking contracts, like from T-shirts to fucking like training gear and gloves.
What, for just military?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
Flashlights.
What's like a huge Rothko or whatever? They've everything, hats, shirts, matches, the plastic containers the matches are in, like fucking everything. It's water bottles, like the little container for the water bottle, everything. They're like, we'll just make it, and it's all like military shit.
Goes into the fucking NSN fucking database, and
I don't. What are you talking about? Like, they're not tracking your water bottles?
No, it's like a NATO serial number.
Oh, yeah, but...
Yeah, you get an NSN number, and it's like a giant fucking catalog that you can order fucking...
I want number whatever, and it's like a 8-digit, 9-digit number, and it's just like the little shitty, like, face mask filtration O-ring for some fucking night vision goggle on, like... a certain weapon system that they need 12 of them annually, but for some reason it costs $70 million to research and develop. Man, but military contracts, or defense contracts, must be some of the juiciest contracts there are, because it's like you're building shit that,
and you actually get priority if you're a veteran-owned business. Or like a woman veteran-owned business.
That's like veterans helping continue the war, but profiting after it.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it is kind of. I said it pretty fucked up, but
100%. Yeah. It's either that or fucking write a book.
I don't know. I'm so conflicted about like the whole war machine in general, because I love me a good war machine. Like, man.
It's as old as time, right?
Well, it is. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, man, we shouldn't be using this big-ass war machine like it's a fucking water hose or whatever. Just, a little bit of war machine over here, a little bit of war machine over here. And like I said, we should slim it way the fuck down, where you're like, dude, you don't need $10 billion for that. Here's $3 million. I know you'll make it work, because that's what this shit actually costs, instead of all that bloated budget. Like... you're going to have this many 100 tanks, and when you lose this many, you'll get like this many more. But you're not just going to leave them in the field. Why? We've got big-ass aircraft that can carry a couple of those. Put them on a train. It's cheap as shit to send stuff through train. Now, I get that, there's maybe not the best rail network in a lot of the places we're slamming that war machine down on. But we've got enough money to where we should just bring back an old-timey American railroad company. Bring back a Rockefeller or something. Be like, yo... bitch, your job is now building military trains. So when we slap the war machine down, we're going to just pave that.
That's what made Hitler so successful, was his
Autobahns.
His rail
and
network.
The Autobahns, dude. And they were smart enough that when they invaded a country, they just straight up took over their entire rail network and immediately started using it.
Yeah.
I mean,
their rail network was incredible.
But they had so many different gauges that it wasn't very consistent.
You know what fucked them up when they tried to invade Russia?
A lot of stuff.
Well, the big one was...
winter is the main thing that fucked them up.
The big one, the one that fucking made the
supply
winter...
chain.
Was the fucking rail tracks were different widths.
Oh, yeah. Gauge changes as a motherfucker, because all of a sudden your car, your engine, it's useless. It's 100% useless. You're like, this thing is like 4 inches too wide.
They'd have to fucking unload and
transfer to the new rail, which you might need 2 trains now, because...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It totally fucked them up.
Well, a lot of stuff fucked them up. Let's face it. Invading Russia was probably one of history's greatest military blunders.
Yeah, I think they
Like,
could. I think
without
they
a
could,
doubt,
I think
the dumbest thing anyone's ever done in war.
I think if they were able to supply their guys quickly with the rails, they would have been fucking fine.
Maybe. I still think like they could have taken Moscow and maybe even win at Stalingrad.
Yeah.
But at that point, Stalin would have been so enraged that he'd been like, send everybody in one massive wave. Like,
That
every single Russian would have just
motherfucker
walked
was
fucking
so
west.
crazy.
Every single Russian would have been ordered to just walk west in a line, and it would have been miles deep of people, and they'd have been like, we're out of ammo, and they just keep walking over them, you know? No, it was the dumbest thing you could ever do, was to invade Russia. The dumbest time to invade Russia.
Yeah.
Dumbest year to invade Russia. Like, it's so bad on so many levels. He never even, like, crippled the Brits, really. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he got them in a fight. We're like, oh, man, we might be knocked out. They were never going to get knocked out. Like, you know, the Luftwaffe was just straight up lying about the numbers that they were, oh, yeah, we shot down 8. And they're like, bitch, there was only 4 planes fighting you. How'd you shoot down 8? Like, there was literally 4 dudes in the air attacking, you know, like 30 of you. We got 8 of them. Okay. And, you know, Goering was like, 8. Marvelous. Like, this, we're crushing the shit out of the RAF. And meanwhile, the RAF is just like, every day these dumb shits come over, and every day we just shoot them down. When the fuck are they going to learn? And eventually they did learn, like, man, we're not getting anywhere with these guys because they keep sending up even more aircraft than they did yesterday.
I think that was insane that, like, civilian targets were fair game.
Well, Hitler started it, right? I mean, not by order. His guys accidentally bombed London. But then it was like, Churchill was like, well, if you're going to bomb London, there goes Berlin. And then Hitler was like, you motherfucker.
Or just
so he starts the
firebombing
blitz.
Japan.
Okay, so the firebomb is crazy because it's even more deadly than the atomic bombs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? Like, it leveled those cities. It straight up killed hundreds of thousands of people in one fucking raid. Like,
in the worst way.
Yeah, burning to death in superheated, what do they call it? The firestorm.
Little fucking bamboo huts and shit.
Self-perpetuating. Well, and we were devious about it, too. We didn't just go drop fire on them. We dropped big-ass bombs that would blow everything apart, and then we lit that shit on fire so it would burn. I mean, incendiaries are outlawed, am I right? I mean, they're not supposed to be used in warfare.
No, we don't use napalm or anything anymore.
Yeah. But we had no problem using it. I mean, I honestly, it's warfare. I think the Geneva Convention's kind of, dude, it's war. Like, hey, chaps, we're going to try to kill you, but please be sporting. Like, fuck you, bitch. I'm going to gouge your eyes out, and I'm going to, like, destroy you. And then once I've won, I'm going to be like, hey, I won. Good job. We're not being eradicated or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak for it because I've never been in combat.
Yeah, me neither. Like, I would probably fold and just cry in a corner like a bitch, but
I think you might be surprised.
yeah, no.
But I think you got to have some kind of chivalry to it.
Well,
like,
no, I mean, no doubt, but
because World War I was
the days of the two sides
fucking
both complying to that are gone. You know?
Yeah, no, and that's
like
that's
so.
that's the big argument.
Hypothetical war. It's 10 years from now. Russia and the U.S. are in a full-blown shooting war, right? Some shit has gone down. The Navy's engaged. Like, they've killed our guys. We've killed their guys. We bombed their bases. They bombed some of our bases, right? We're in a full-blown...
I don't think that'll ever happen.
No, I'm just saying, hypothetical. Non-nuclear shooting war, right? Like, we're going at it. We've got tanks going at it, okay? You're an American serving... and you're in like a shitty front where the Russians have got the upper hand and they're overrunning all your positions. And you've got 2 choices: fight to your death or give up en masse and just surrender and hope that they're the sporting guys. Do you give up?
If they're Russian, no.
I don't give up, like, against anyone, I don't think, anymore. Like, maybe if it's the British and you're fighting the British, yeah, these guys aren't going to massacre me when I surrender. But almost anyone else, no, fuck no, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a way better chance of standing here fighting you than I do of peacefully,
well, you can even
don't
say
kill us all.
You
Fuck
can even say,
that.
I mean, that was like that in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Almost any conflict you got into in a modern world, I would never surrender because your odds are better fighting it out. If you surrender, you're just basically slitting your own throat. Like,
Well, you would hope that would be quick and easy like that, but it's not going to be.
no, I know you're going to be tortured and like whatever. But I'm just saying, if you look at all the conflict, like, man, history has taught me the guys that just give up, that was usually not a good idea. They should have kept fighting.
Yeah, it doesn't well.
Yeah, it doesn't usually come off very good. Like, you usually get marched off to something that then later gets called a death march. You know, like, that's not a good look.
That must have been what was going through the Japanese minds until we dropped some bombs on them.
That's a whole crazy thing, because that was a whole country dedicated to the idea that the emperor is like a god, basically, right? Yeah. So you've given your solemn oath to a god. And
the guys that did surrender, like I watched.
We're surprised as shit. I bet. Like, wait, these guys are giving me chocolate
they're like,
bars
we're getting crackers and shit. Yeah.
Wait, hot food in a shower, and they got a doctor?
I think it was on the Ken Burns documentary. They were talking about it. It was old Japanese POWs.
So what was it? The civilians throwing themselves off the cliffs at Okinawa and stuff because they bought the propaganda so hard that the Americans were like baby-eating monsters, like gonna fucking torture them and shit. When if you think about it, and you're in a conflict with the U.S.,
we were pretty pissed off.
If you're in a conflict with the U.S., just go ahead and surrender. You're gonna get a Big Mac.
That's
you're
what
gonna get medical care. You're gonna get water. You're gonna get a ride. You're not going to have to walk to. You're going to get a ride, dude.
I think there's a quote from like a famous Marine general, and he's like, thank God like that Japan surrendered, because you had 100,000 pissed off Marines that have been fighting for years.
Oh yeah, but you also had a suicidal island that, man, that would have been like the bloodiest conflict ever, because it would have been like, we're gonna erase you all, and the other side would be like, we're just not gonna give up.
I always think, like, if Japan never surrendered and they were 100% committed, would they be extinct? Because we would have just eradicated them.
Well, here's the thing: we didn't have another bomb.
Yeah, and we
could have continued firebombing them, and we could have went ahead with the invasion.
Yeah, and we landed all the Marines.
Imagine that happens, and our invasion gets thrown off. What happens then? Like, oh fuck, we don't have more bombs. We maybe keep firebombing them and shit, but this is a stalemate now. You'd have to eradicate them if they're not going to surrender. Right?
I think Russia would have came in,
swooped in, and stole like a whole bunch of shit. This is ours now
because they declared war on Japan.
The day before they surrendered.
It was like a
day
or two,
before, because he knew that if the conflict ended, he wasn't going to get a seat at the peace table because he wasn't in the war. Why the fuck is Stalin at the peace table wanting his chunk of land when he's like, I neighbor, you give. They're like, you didn't have no shit of it. So he declared war, and they didn't do nothing.
Because he wanted, like, Manchuria.
He had, Stalin. He wanted everything Hitler wanted, right? Yeah. He wanted the whole fucking world. Like, crazy bastards. Europe has an older history, obviously, than we do, and it's fucking crazy.
Oh, when you get it
from the beginning,
from
you go
medieval
back,
times,
dude. Medieval was some of the craziest times. Like, you ever play Crusader Kings? Crusader Kings 2?
What's that on? Xbox or
PC? I don't know if it's on Xbox. There might be, but it would be shitty to play on Xbox. It's a 4-time game. Like a kind of like Risk, like a board game, but PC. But
see, I can't get into that shit, dude.
Well, you've got nation states and stuff, and all kinds of crazy shit.
Sleep.
And feudal system. Well, they actually have a bunch in CK. You can go through the.
I just get on some fucking Adderall and just tweak out and play video games all day.
Yeah. I played for a while, played a campaign where I like just tried to make a random one, or a custom one where it's not actual historical figures, and you start off with smaller counties, so I'm not going up against like a whole country, I'm just going up against all the little guys, and I consolidated this huge chunk of land and just became like the emperor of all of Europe and like everything, the whole map basically. So this is all mine. But as you
How long did that take you?
Well, you don't ever really get it all because the game takes it away from you. How it splits up. Like you die, so your oldest son gets this chunk of land, and then their oldest, and then they start fighting because it's trying to simulate real world. So they're like, "Fuck our family, kill them all. I'm the only king."
It's that real life Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it is, and it's just never ending because your competition trying to kill you. Maybe your own family is trying to kill you, and they just announced the CK3 coming up sometime, probably next year. And the trailer, you got to watch the trailer. It's literally like the murder of a baby is the trailer for the game.
This is what civilian.
I say CK3. Crusader
Kings.
Yeah, so the trailer is like it's just a baby like in a cradle or whatever, and the whole thing is like there's an assassin in the corner and shit. But the trailer is like they murder a baby. That's how they introduce their game. Like, you can now slaughter infants. Like, damn, that game was already fucked up. Now you could just straight up off them as their babies and stuff. I think before you couldn't kill the kids. I'm pretty sure until they were like...
You could do some fucked up things in Red Dead.
I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of all the fucked up shit you can do. I've fed a couple people.
You're in chapter 3.
Yeah, and I've tried to feed a couple people to Crocs.
If you follow the water line, like south of the Braithworth Manor, there's like a little shack. Like, it's like a catfish shack or some shit. You can go in there, and there's like a drunk. There's a drunk dad like about to beat his son. And
dude,
you can intervene.
Have you come across the clan?
Oh yeah,
I slaughtered that entire group.
Yeah.
I walked into the middle of it, and as soon as they were like, "What the?" Boom, 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 and they took off in every direction. Right?
Yeah.
I got every one of them. I was like, "Get back here, you motherfucker!"
I've seen an initiation ceremony where the guy lights the cross.
Oh, see, I didn't let that finish. That's what I interrupted.
It fucking burns up, and then it ends up killing him. He catches on fire, and then he runs around, catches another dude on fire, and they both end up dying.
I'm pretty sure that's what I interrupted. Like, it's the group of them around, and they're talking, and I walked right in the middle like, "Hey," and they're like, "What the?" And boom, boom, boom. Because I was like, what the fuck is this? It was at night.
Yeah.
So I see torches and shit.
It's always at night.
In the woods, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I roll over there on my horse, and I'm like, these are good. I'm going to show up, and they're going to be like, "Hey, give us your money," or some shit, you know?
It's always fun to look for the smoke.
That's the fucking clan. I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that was in the game. And I was like, oh, I'm killing each and every one. And before they even got into, like, maybe there was a mission there, so I have no fucking idea. I slaughtered them all.
Yeah. So you can go into this house and intervene with his dad, shoot him because he pulls a knife on you, and you end up slashing him.
Well, you could probably shoot him even if he doesn't pull a knife.
And then the kid's crying, and you can, like, console him, or you can execute him. And, yeah.
So every time I've been given the option, you know, like the ones where you have to beat the guy and then question him or something, and then sometimes you're given the option, like, you get to decide. You let him, man, I'm already choking him before they've even, like, said, do what you want. Like, he's already in the process.
I'm going bad on the
my shit is like
on the dishonor
sliding
scale.
all the way down. I'm like, and it keeps moving up when I just am like, somebody's like, "Hey, help!" Okay, like dude sitting on the side of the road. The doctor.
That comes in handy sometimes because sometimes you'll run into them at town. And they'll tell you,
just like, "Hey."
Well, they'll tell you to go into the store and pick out something on them.
Oh, no, yeah. I had a guy, I just rolled up, and I didn't even, I was like, I must have helped this guy. I don't remember what I did for him, but I'm surprised he's not dead, because that's usually what happens is I help him, you see the little white cowboy hat, and then I kill him, and it goes like, murder. Whoops.
You gotta go kill the witness.
And it took me a little while to learn, like, how that whole system worked, about where you could straight up just get away with murder in this game if you just kill everybody.
It changes the interaction, too.
What do you mean?
Like, if you're on the dishonor scale, like, you're...
Oh, yeah, no, people are more likely to be like, instead of being like, "Hey, what's up, pal?" They're straight to shoot.
But then even the cut videos are different.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, the way you talk in the cut videos.
I'm sure. You're just a lot meaner, and...
Yeah.
I always pick the mean shit, or when they're like, "Hey, hey, hey," and I'm like, "No." You know, just like, no. And then usually pull a gun on them, and then they get all like, "Ah!" And I shoot them before they can finish what they're saying.
Such a fun game.
I just wish that you could... Here's my grief with almost every video game ever. And there's a few that didn't do it, but most of them do. You can't configure the controls.
Yeah.
Like, you can maybe pick from a couple selections, or some are even like, you can...
There are some games
that will let you remap. Yeah. None of them ever let you do everything.
Yeah.
To where you're like, okay, the lasso, you know how you have to, like, hold down trigger or whatever, and then you lasso them with the other one, but you have to hold the thing. No, I'm not up for that. I want it to be able to set it up to where I'm like, that's an action. Once I push it, it knows that it's going to be held until I tell it that it's...
Have you used the adaptive controller yet?
I haven't. I've seen it. And when I first saw it, I was like, that thing, I was like, that's an awesome idea, but I was like, I don't understand how that's going to help if it's just this white pad with these two, because, and I didn't realize, well, when I first saw it, all I saw was the top down, you know what I mean? And then the next few things I saw, I was like, oh shit, there's like 10 jacks on the bottom of this thing, and therefore just buttons, like, any buttons, you just plug a bunch in, and you could tell them what you wanted to do. And that's when I was like, that's legit, because that...
And you can get, like, toggle switches where you just slap it. So, like...
Yeah,
you know
so that's when I was like,
they
have
to hold
down
the L trigger. you can set that on a toggle switch.
Oh, see, that's what I need in every game to where you
Yeah.
can just tell it instead of being like a lot do that were like, oh, aimed on the sights you have to hold, or you can toggle it. I don't
Yeah.
like toggling stuff like that because then you're like all tunnel vision. You get attacked by some fucking cougar or something.
Because I've just been using the regular controller right now, but it's once I get the adaptive controller, like I'm gonna custom it because you pretty much like when I was over at Mike's place, like I was using the adaptive controller and it was like. He sets up a little pad on his lap, like a lap pad.
Yeah, I've seen how a few people do that.
And then he like kind of glues the shit down.
Like put it where you want it and then secure
Exactly,
it. You
yeah.
could Velcro. You could just straight up like
actually
permanently.
he might use Velcro.
Like that, yeah, there's a lot of ways you could do that for sure. When I first saw it, I was like, man,
you set up almost like a
they
drum
talked
kit.
to a cripple to make this, and then I found out they absolutely did.
Yeah, no,
he's
he's been beta testing I think for a while.
And then I found out they talked to a wide variety to do it. I was like, that's why it has the ideas that I would have put into it. Like, you got to make sure that you can just put a button where you want it.
Yeah, and they
I
have
want a button right here, Like
they have all sorts of weird fucking switches, and
that's the kind of stuff that's cool because then it makes like Crip gamers can help them do stuff that they either already had problems with or they just couldn't do.
Yeah.
And it also helps people that think they couldn't game because they're like, oh man, I could never because I would need, well, here, bitch, do that. You know what I mean? Like,
it got me on board with it.
That's cool.
Just because I knew how much like research and development Xbox put into it, so I was like, man, they put that much energy into it. I gotta try.
And that's got to be a low return too.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they're like, we're putting out this crazy awesome lot of research for this really tiny niche market.
Exactly. That's the thing. I was just like, if they're gonna take the time to do that, I'm gonna.
So when I was actually like, that's some props right there because that is actually something that could be useful, and it's not some like, oh, and it's got the disability feature where you're like, that doesn't help anybody. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely been the ultimate like equalizer.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
cool.
I can fucking play a video game and be anything. Like in Red Dead, I can go fucking ride a horse around.
When I think your thing, did you game before you got hurt?
A little bit, but then I fell out. I mean, the last game that I really got into was like San Andreas.
All right. But you did before, and at least I mean like, so you would be just in the normal category.
I'd say moderately.
You can use the controller because your hands are fully functional.
Yeah.
Right. And so once you're injured and you can't do that anymore, there's actually like a little bit of a barrier because you're like, man, it's hard to do. So even if I do play, I'm just gonna suck, right? It's basically,
yeah. There was like a 4-year gap where I didn't play video games before I got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so mine's like kind of different because, being degenerative, I always was changing how I played. Like I've played PC since I first had a PC, but I also like the Xbox, Nintendos and shit. And for shooting type games, the controller is way better for me. But for a lot of games, I'll just use keyboard and mouse. Just because it makes more sense for those types of games.
I got hurt right around the time smartphones came out, and when I got my first smartphone, like playing like Angry Birds and games on like the phone or the tablet are actually pretty fun. Like I play Risk. I taught myself how to play Risk on a cell phone.
Yeah,
app.
I had that same like the actual legitimate Risk one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I play online, dude. I love it.
Yeah, I played that. It was pretty fun. It's crazy, the smartphones. Like, that's the kind of shit that probably, if we had that when I was a wee lad, I'd be some, like, techno terrorist by now.
Oh,
like,
yeah, dude.
Fucking.
So I went hunting last month with a
Get anything?
group. No, unfortunately, no.
You're a shitty hunter.
No, it's a fucking shitty time, I guess.
What were you after? Just deer or something?
No, we were going after cow elk or just mule deer.
Nice.
Yeah.
See any?
Yeah, we saw some elk like way off on like a ridge that was like 5 miles away from us. And what pissed me off though was the last day they were trying to shoo them into our area because what we do is we set up like a shooting lane, and I'd get out in the track chair
like an old L, and you just force them down. And
exactly.
And then your squad just wipes them out.
Right, exactly.
Damn,
and
dude.
so they fucking.
Brutal.
They were close enough to shoot him, but they were trying to shoot him into us so we could shoot him. And I was like, fuck, dude.
We're going to shoot them.
The last day, like, just fucking shoot the animal because it ended up taking off in the other direction.
Yeah, true. If it is the last day and they
like,
have the site, like, just being like, why set up for a second encounter when you're having an encounter with them right now?
Like, I should have made that clear before they set off. I was just like, fuck, man. Like,
You were more interested in somebody getting something than you getting to get something.
Yeah, because we would all split it up.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, though, because a lot of people, I think, would be like, they want to be the one that gets to do the kill or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Some people are just assholes, so. So Shock, I guess, got back into hunting after he moved to Texas. Huh?
Yeah.
Crazy. Like, I don't know, I never really gone hunting, like, any kind of bigger game. I mean,
it's pretty fun.
When we lived in Utah, me and my brother and one of my neighborhood friends, we were like fucking mountain men kids. So we would take off after school on a 4-day school weekend, just disappear into the mountains and be back like, you know, Sunday night because we had to shower up and shit and get ready for school on Monday.
It'd be a fun place to grow up.
It was.
How old were you?
Teenager. You know,
That's perfect.
Yeah. And learned a lot of cool stuff, actually. Like,
were you guys like teenager driving? Like,
no, I'm talking legit
cars.
walk into the woods with, like, we were stupid kids, so we're like, what is the bare minimum we can walk into those woods for a weekend and be like, we're coming back home confidently? So we would test ourselves, you know, we're like, let's not bring a tent, you know, and then it was like, let's not bring you know, food, or let's not bring this, or let's not bring sleeping bags. And we eventually were like, we're going to start testing all the gear that we carry. So we had those fucking tin foil emergency blanket reflector, you know what I'm talking about, the emergency heat blanket that is just going to not let you sleep.
It's like Mylar or some shit.
Yeah. So we had those, and we're like, I wonder if these really work, right? Not fully understanding what their function was, that it's...
I've never tested them.
That it's meant to just keep you alive in really, really, really shitty conditions. It's not going to be comfortable. It's just going to try to take a little bit off to where you can now survive, right? So we went out into the woods in Utah and had like a
time of year.
Like fall.
Okay.
So I mean, it was getting cold.
Yeah. Like there was cold evenings.
There was already snow on the ground. So we took off, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna go. We had campsites all over the place, and we're like, we'll go to one of our campsites that we liked. It's near this little creek, and we'll just set up there. We'll hang out just for one night because we're just gonna test this blanket. So all we went out there with was like a knife and a little bit of rope or whatever, and we're like, we're going to make our own fire out of using sticks and shit because we both had taken survival classes, and we were like survivalists. We were living in, you know, beautiful southern Utah, like where that...
What town was this?
Boulder, Utah.
I don't even know where that is.
Do you know Escalante, Utah?
I know where, like the Grand Escalante staircase.
Well, we were in it. We were in the National Monument. But, you know where Panguitch is?
I actually have heard of that.
See, like a lot of people have like, what?
Actually, you might have told me about Panguitch before.
Panguitch sucks.
I feel like I feel like it probably came up one time.
So it's picturesque, beautiful, high mountains, high Sierra Mountains, right?
I'm thinking like a frontier town.
The last town in America to have its to have its mail delivered by mule.
Yeah.
And that was only ended like not even a decade before we moved there. So I was like, what? Wait, what? You mean this century? They're like, this decade. Seriously? They're like, this road's only like, you know, a couple years old or whatever, the scenic highway. I'm like, holy fuck, this is literally the middle of nowhere. Yeah, middle of nowhere. But just beautiful. I mean, we had a couple acres, and on the other side of those couple acres was a fence. On the other side of that fence was like 1,500 billion square miles of Dixie National Forest. It was like half the goddamn state.
Yeah.
It was just this national forest.
Southern Utah's gorgeous.
And on the other side is the Escalante National Monument Land or whatever, you know. And that was a whole fiasco when that came into existence because we were living there at the time, and all the farmers were like, fuck these guys trying to take away.
Just recently, too,
and then they realized it was actually a good thing because it protected all their lands and shit, and they were like, oh, that's okay.
So that's one aspect of government that I 100% agree with. Is
what, like, protect lands?
Well, the EPA and the Bureau of Land Management.
So we should be putting aside much more land, and I'm not talking like it's protected status. I'm talking like, don't let fucking people go there. You know what I mean? Like, this is a refuge for wolves.
Oh, I got you.
Don't let people even into that region. Let it be wild.
I thought you meant like close down some national parks.
No. Like in a national park, people can go there, right? It's regulated.
Yeah.
You can't just wander in there any time of the year. The park's got to be open. And then you can't just wander wherever you want. You can't go off trails. You can't. I mean, people do because they're fucking assholes.
Yeah. And
but if you get caught, you'll be fine.
Or you just fall into a fucking hot spring and die.
Which I would be okay with.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. I think that they seriously should be putting aside a lot more land.
Yeah.
And there should be some that is like our current national parks where it's beautiful, there's wildlife, people can go and visit, and there's information stuff in the stores and blah, 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 blah. Don't be a dick. But then there should just be places like, don't go past that fence because it's wild. And if you go over there, not only will you be in legal trouble,
like grizzlies and shit.
You will be eaten, and nobody will come to rescue you because fuck you for going in there, basically.
Yeah.
Like, man, our oceans are fucked. Like, I didn't really. Okay, so like the plastic in the ocean, and that's
when I started diving, I realized
that's been a problem since I've been alive, right? And it's only gotten worse and worse and worse. But when I started learning about like the acidification and the deoxygenation, whatever,
like dead zones in the Gulf.
Zones, and they're huge. They're hundreds of miles, and it's not like, oh man, it's hard for things to survive there. Nothing survives because there's no air. Some weird bacteria live there and shit because they're making their own
and
gases.
It's all the fucking runoff.
Yeah, and farms, industrial, actual just toxic waste and shit. Mostly just farms.
Minnesota and Illinois.
Mostly just shit running down the waterways and eventually ending up just up and into our coast. But I started thinking about that. I'm like, that's just going to keep spreading. And because they've shown it's only getting worse.
Growing,
And the only way to stop it is to stop dumping shit into the water. And even then, it's going to be a long fucking time until it fixes itself. It's not like, oh, man, it'll be cool in a decade. Bitch, that's going to be like maybe your grandkids will see fish swimming there. Maybe, if you stop fucking it up. But
I don't know.
I don't have faith in humans to
I got to go
to
scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef and seeing that shit all bleached out. I mean, it looked like just piles of, like, antlers.
I have seen some stuff recently about, like, new coral reefs being formed, which is kind of hopeful. Like, oh, man, the ocean's saying, fuck you, we're just going to go over here and make one. But humans are so destructive just even when they're not trying to be. I mean, think about international shipping.
Oh, yeah.
They're filling up their water tanks in, like, the Gulf of Oman for ballast, and then they're, like, down on the south tip of Africa unloading, and they're going to dump their ballast there for some reason or another and readjust.
Well,
they just dumped some weird animal into their water, sucked up some other weird animal, and now you've got invasive species
like lionfish
all across the globe. Yeah,
lionfish.
Like, they brought these guys over there, they brought those guys over here, and everywhere is just devastation. And it wasn't intentional. Nobody's like, we're going to fuck some shit up. It's just they're like, it's so much easier to just suck up water and spit it out to use ballast than actually, I don't know, having some physical ballast or something,
Lionfish hunting might be one of the coolest.
And see, those are the kind of sports that I can get behind where they're like, you see those hog? Yeah? Kill every one of them motherfuckers you can because they're not from here. It's kind of fucked up. You think about that because
Texas makes a good case for the colony if we can hog hunt.
Maybe if it goes blue and stays that way for like more than 8 years, Texas would add itself to a list. But Texas.
Plus, by then we are going to be conservative bastards.
Plus, it's too close to the equator. Shit gets fucked up. You're being cooked.
Yeah.
Like I've thought about a lot. Okay, so the
also depending what goes down with Mexico.
The end of world scenario, but I'm not talking meteor. I'm not talking nukes. I'm just talking like it's. People are using shit up, right?
Just
where do you go? Where's a good place to just like plunk yourself in there and be like, I'm gonna set in here because this is a good place. And I've been thinking about that.
Say
for
Wyoming
a long
or Montana.
Time. And those are actually pretty good spots because you think about it, they don't have too many natural type disasters, right? Yeah. No big earthquakes, really. They're still too close to Yellowstone for like. If you're really going for shit might someday go off.
Eastern Oregon.
But that's this whole hemisphere.
Or just Oregon, where I'm at, but it's kind of populated.
And you got to deal with a lot of, like, climate, like weather changes or seasons. Seasonal.
Which is fine. Because
seasonal changes for me, if they're drastic.
We get water.
Too bad. Yeah, water is
good. Just set up some rain collectors.
Vegas is a no-go on, like, any form of a place to be if the shit hits the fan. I was actually just talking.
I thought about it.
I was actually just talking with my dad earlier, like I don't know, about an hour before you showed up or whatever. And I don't know why we were talking about it, but I said, no, Vegas is like, no, you don't want to be here if any shit hits the fan. And he said, why? I was like, this place is definitely getting nuked. Shit goes nuclear. This is a target.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nellis has made us a target.
The Air Force Base right there.
They have nukes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are a target. Like,
hey.
I don't know when it was. It was like 97 or whatever. Some papers got shown to where they were like, no, it is absolutely on an official, like, it is a Russian target.
I watched a documentary on the old nuclear testing, and I still need to get out to that museum.
The
when they would do the testing, people in Vegas would go outside, and I forget what time of day it was. It was like early in the morning at like 4:30 or 5.
The poor bastards that were living in like Cedar City and St. George were getting all the fallout without even knowing.
Well, people on the strip would go out and just watch the flashes.
So they have the it's proving grounds or whatever, but they still do weapons testing out there. They still, drop like bombs and shit for target practice from planes and stuff out there.
Yeah, there's a whole bombing
range. There's a gun range out there my dad used to work at when he was heavy weapons instructor. But if you go like out to where it actually is, it's like a golf ball earth now because of all the craters they've made. You couldn't pay me to go over there and get close to that shit. Like, I'm still too close to all the radiation shit that they're bringing through. Yucca Mountain. So do you know about the ghost fleet of trucks? So the government, the U.S. government, owns the world's largest fleet of big rig trucks, right? Just 18-wheelers out there. They carry white trailers. They're just unmarked trucks. And they're hauling around all kinds of weird shit, like toxic waste, radiation, nuclear waste.
Is it going on right now?
Yeah. And so I was like, man, I wonder how much of that shit goes through. And I was thinking, oh, man, maybe someday
next road trip, I'm just
there'll be a problem. I found out that almost every day there's, radioactive waste being transported through the streets of Las Vegas and Nevada, going out to these places. And it's like, it's no big fucking deal, man. I'm like, no, that is a big deal to me. I don't want to be anywhere near any of this.
Like an accident or something?
Not even an accident. Dude, even if everything's perfectly well, that shit is going to kill you. Like, man, I don't want to be near that. And, of course, they put it in, just outside of Vegas because this is a shithole. Like, the desert is supposedly the good land for it. But they already proved with all kinds of studies that they're like, no, that's not safe to store there. And they're, well, fuck it, we already spent so much money, we're going to do it anyways.
What'd you think of the whole Storm Area 51 thing?
I thought that was pretty retarded.
What a bad idea.
I was actually hoping that a big enough group showed up where the guards were actually like, we got to light them up, dude. We're about to be overrun. And then, like, you got what you fucking deserve because,
rag it up. Yeah.
Like, it's different. I went out to Area 51 long time ago. I was living in Colorado. My family was still here, but friends were coming down to Vegas, and I was on a trip with them. And for some reason, they wanted to go out to Area 51. So we got in the car, and we started driving out there, and it's a long, boring drive in the desert, and there ain't shit out there.
How many hours?
I can't remember from here, but it's like a little more than one, but I don't think 2.
Okay.
I mean, like, yeah, it's a good little trip, but it's not like a long haul or nothing. But it's just
about the same drive to
down a desert highway, and then you're going down like lesser paved roads for a while, and then you're on like gravel roads for a while. And you can never get close enough to see the base because by the time even we had gone out there, the fences had all been moved back to a point to where there is no legal vantage point of Groom Lake. You couldn't see it anymore. You couldn't see any buildings. You couldn't see shit.
See the signs that said,
you could see a fence.
Turn around.
Yeah, go beyond this, and we're authorized to use lethal force. But you couldn't see shit. Yeah. And so I was like, this is just boring. I know what goes on back there. It's cool.
What's your theory?
What?
What happens at Area 51?
Oh, man, the same shit that happens at, like, Edwards Air Force Base, just the more hush-hush version. So they test the F-117 Nighthawk. It was being tested there.
That's what I think it's always
B-2,
been.
Part of its testing was there. B-52s back in the day used to fly in and out of there.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know, but B-52s carried nuclear weapons. I'm guessing it had something to do with nuclear weapons. I think it's always just been It's been a test. It's a huge...
For the high-speed
It's the same reason we landed the space shuttle on that big flat lake bed.
Yeah.
This was just that a little bit farther east. That's all it is. And they're like aliens and shit. My dad believes in aliens. He's like, I seriously believe there's aliens out there. I'm like, I 100%. I don't believe there's aliens. I know there's some kind of alien out there.
I don't know if we've
but
been
it's going to be a
contacted.
fucking amoeba. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a fungus, or it's going to be a single-celled.
I really believe anywhere
thing.
there's water, there's life.
Yeah, enzymes and shit. There's going to be something that people will be like, man, that thing is alive. Look at it. It's like eating that shit.
Intelligent
shit
life.
And shit. Yeah, exactly.
I think,
We're not going to run into...
If the universe is as big
shit.
as they say it is, then it's out there, but I think they're just far enough where we'll never reach each other.
And depending on how long their species lives.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Because if we lived 1,000 years, then yeah, we're going to run into some aliens.
Well,
we live 100 if we're fucking lucky.
I think everybody just gets a shot at it, and then there's the reset button hits on their planet.
Yeah, because a big meteor comes.
Or whatever, yeah. It hits the reset button, a few of us survive, and then we rebuild and fucking, Like, if I put you on an island, how long would it take you to send me an email? Building all that shit,
You're man. If you put me on an island, depending on how nice the island is, I might not even attempt to communicate with the outside world.
Yeah.
Why would I want to tell anybody about my island? I'd be like, fuck that. I'm building a paradise here and be Gilligan.
Well, the analogy is like, how long would it take?
No, I get that. If you just think about radio waves and you think about the first thing that was like really pumped out there, which is kind of ironic what it is, because you know what it is, right? The first thing to get like massive radio pumpage out there.
What's that?
Nazi propaganda.
Yeah.
So the first things floating out in the human species out there that another species could latch onto is fucking Nazi propaganda. Yeah, dude. So that's creepy. But you think about how far that's got. Hadn't even got to the next star system. Yeah. Like it's like, like it's right there. It hasn't gone anywhere. Was that Voyager? The spacecraft?
Star Trek? Or?
No. The spacecraft, Voyager,
yeah.
The probe, or Venus probe, right? I think it was originally flew by Venus or something.
Is that the one that
took a tour of the
Is that the one
system.
that crashed into?
No. So
what's the one that crashed into Neptune or Saturn?
Recently?
I think so.
I can't think of the man. There's so many cool
names. At least
names
within the last decade.
There's been so many cool like space missions and stuff, and they all have crazy names. But
I think there was one recently where it was like a 30-year mission, and its end life was to just crash into Saturn and
get completely
destroyed.
2. Yeah, so it's Voyager 2, not even the original Voyager. But Voyager 2 is a space probe launched.
Is that the one with the record?
It was launched back in 1977, right? It is the furthest man-made object out of like our system.
Yeah.
And it just barely got out of our system.
Chugging along.
Yeah, and it's going to be a long fucking time
That's
before it would ever run into another system.
Is that the one with the record? The golden record?
Yeah, it's got the voices of like 160 different languages or whatever saying hello, and it's got like the human figure.
It's got some music on it,
and
too.
It's got it's got music. It is it's a golden record.
Yeah.
And it has some mathematics on it to show that like we understand math and some weird shit.
I wonder if someone's ever gonna figure that shit out.
I love how it's used in movies or stuff where they're like, the Star Trek dudes run into some Voyager or whatever.
Oh, really?
What the fuck is that? There's Futurama. They run into that thing where it's a VJ.
That's one show I need to watch.
Futurama was awesome.
I heard it was great.
It's sad. I'm sad that it ended, and then they brought it back, and then it ended again.
I think it's still on Netflix.
Fucking great show. I know that the new stuff by the same people. That other show is, but I haven't watched that.
I watched it when it was first airing, and I got into it.
Futurama? I don't think I got into it big when it was first out, but man, it's such a great show.
I got into that show when it first came out, and I got into King of the Hill.
I watched King of the Hill back when it was on, and I think that's because that was back in the day.
I watch it now as an adult.
We didn't watch stuff on the internet.
Fucking hilarious. It's so much funnier as like an adult.
Hank is
when you could more relate to Hank. You're just like, holy fuck, I get this.
That is kind of weird that, like, Hank is the old guy, but then as the older you get, you're just like, Hank is the smart guy. He's always, like, Just like people are doing dumb shit around him. All his friends are stupid as shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. And he's a dumb fucking. He's like a hillbilly redneck. He's not full blown redneck, but he's not a.
He's
redneck.
behind the times.
Yeah.
Like the one where he accidentally becomes a pimp.
Like he's not a redneck, but he's not a redneck. You know what I mean?
He's a Texan.
He's
like an average Texan,
I guess.
That's such a great show.
They are in Texas too, right?
Yeah, Arlen.
Yeah, that's right.
Town of Arlen, Texas.
Yep. Fucking my favorite Boomhauer, just because I don't think you ever hear him actually say anything about it.
What's funny is I can sort of understand him.
Well, it's more like he's not saying anything, but he's like his tones and like you get the gist of it because man talking about the FBI.
You find out at the end that he's actually a Texas Ranger.
No shit.
Because you never find out what his job is, because he's just like a playboy.
I didn't get that much into it.
He's got a brother, and Brad Pitt voices his brother and does the accent.
Do they make him look like Brad Pitt, the character? Or is it just the voice?
It's like a Brad Pitt Boomhauer looking dude.
Brad Hauer?
Yeah. They're like I forget the plot of that episode.
So it's
but he's
Hank,
a womanizer.
Bill, right?
Bill Dotrey.
And he's the bald fat guy.
But dude, he used to be
Boomhauer talking about
Bill Dotrey used to be ripped as fuck.
And then what's the conspiracy theory?
No, the episode was he
one with the gun club is out to get him. Holy shit! What is that guy's name though? I can't think of his name.
So okay, what happened with Bill Dotrey? He used to be this ripped fucking army.
No,
dude.
I actually remember, and he
had like a government experiment,
and cut hair as like a professional multi-million-dollar trained hair cutter. Like, yeah, his backstory is actually funny because he's just this fucking pathetic.
He's a loser.
He's like such a pathetic piece of shit. He's like,
I still love the
stealing
when he's wearing his wife's like old dress
and toe clippings and shit.
Why do you keep calling me Bill?
What is the fucking conspiracy nuts guy's name? I can't think of his name.
Dale Gribble.
Dale.
Yeah.
He was my favorite
hilarious.
of the group
He's
because
hilarious.
he is, the dude from Tremors?
Burt
Gummer.
Burt Gummer, yeah.
He is like the redneck retarded version of Burt Gummer. Like more conspiracy theorists.
With less guns.
With way less. Like the ghetto wants to be Burt Gummer. This guy's wanting to be Burt Gummer, but he can't because he's just some poor-ass redneck.
He's a bug sprayer.
But he wants to be Burt Gummer. Okay, Burt Gummer, badass.
Top 5.
Conspiracy theory, kind of crazy guy. Absolutely true. So not a conspiracy. Absolute badass.
Yeah.
Kills fucking graboids like it's nothing. You see that there's another one coming out, though, and it's like...
Isn't there like 8 of them now?
And they're adding, like, some celebrity I heard is on it. I'm like, what the fuck? That you don't go from, like, legit cult film to whatever the fuck all the rest of them were to, like, they're trying to bring it back into legitimate.
They're doing, like, a complete remake?
No, I don't think it is a remake. I think it's just, like, number 7. But I can't remember who it was, man. Somebody where I was like... What?
Like Ryan Reynolds?
Like somebody where you're just like, what the fuck is an A-lister Hollywood star
Jonah Hill
signing up to do this? You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. Even, why can't I think of his name? Kevin Bacon. Even he was like, I'll be doing one of these weird fucking...
Remember they were talking about redoing Roadhouse? With Ronda Rousey?
They need to stop remaking movies.
I agree.
Because...
Or... sequels from like 30 years.
They're remaking movies that were made in my fucking lifetime. I think there should be a limit, like 75 years, go ahead and fire that franchise back up.
Yeah.
Because times have changed. I was 20 when some of these films came out, and I'm like, what the fuck?
What do you think of these, like the Zoolander sequel, like 20 years after?
I never watched it.
Neither did I.
Like
Joe Dirt.
I never watched the sequel.
Did you know there was a Joe Dirt sequel?
I did.
Yeah.
And I never watched it. I'm sad to say that I think I've seen all the Tremor movies. The first one, legit awesome movie.
1, 2. I don't know if I ever
2, I think, is passable.
I don't know
But then
if I
it gets
regret that.
weird because they add in like fucking Jamie.
Like dog.
Was that dude
things.
Jamie Kennedy or whatever? Can't think of that guy's name. But they start adding in just like
First one's a classic.
first one is like no shit when it came out. It was low budget, didn't do good, right? It was just like a flop basically, and it's still watchable today.
Would you call that a grindhouse?
I would call it a no, I don't even know. I would call it like
Like Sharknado.
no, not that, because I think it was a A movie with a B budget. You know what I mean? Like they punched
a
above
low budget.
low budget. I think they punched above their weight, and like we're smart enough to be like, we got to do something kind of scary, but we can't just put this thing out there because the couple times you see it, it's pretty jank. Like when it's going under the ground.
They had old Pat Morita in it too.
Dude, it was. And
Rest
it
in
was like a
peace.
legit, never been done kind of movie. You know what I mean? Like some weird monster, but an original monster, but not some space alien shit. Like just some weird fucking
I'd put
thing.
it on par with Starship Troopers.
Okay, so Starship Troopers, same kind of awesome.
NPH, man.
Different kind of film, though. Like, I could watch both of those repeatedly.
Yeah,
Those are both in my,
100%.
like, I'll just throw them on
100%.
because they're badass. Like,
Starship Troopers
do you
was
wanna
so
know more?
badass.
Starship Troopers is like, every time I watch it, I'm like, they're straight up space Nazis.
Yeah.
But they're the democratic version of space Nazis.
fascists.
Space democratic Nazis, basically. It was weird. I was like,
Have you ever read
this
the
is a bunch
book?
of mash. And why the fuck was everybody that was from Buenos Aires white?
Gentrification.
I guess.
Gentrification.
But no, that is like a legit crappy movie that is fucking great.
I love it.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the book?
No.
Oh, fucking amazing.
Man, I've come to realize that I don't think there's many movies that could be better than the books they're based off of. Like, I don't
No.
think there are any. The Martian, the movie, is like crazy accurate for a lot of it, but then it just leaves out so much because it can't put that in the time frame.
I'd say there has been Fight Club.
I didn't read the book, so I can't.
Even the author said that the movie was better.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, he said it was better.
Yeah, the book was good. The book was really good.
But maybe that's just like a self-hating thing. He's like, yeah, it was fucking shit. I can't believe people actually liked that story. I had a way better one about war penguins that nobody went for.
No, he was like, no, the fucking movie blew it away.
You know what I actually like, and I think this is one of the exercises you like too, is thinking about bringing modern weapon systems into like past conflicts. You know, like if you could just
like a minigun.
no, oh yeah, a minigun. Like, but I'm thinking like if you could teleport into say like Stalingrad, but you've got an M1A2 and a full logistics train behind it, so you're just like shoot.
Or even
We got gas and we got bullets. Just go. How far can that one tank?
night vision goggles.
Yeah. Like, so let's get a real hypothetical here. Like Civil War, okay? And you go back with one rifle squad from Vietnam era, and you put them with the South.
That's a tough one because you don't have body armor.
You also, like, think of the distances they were fighting those at. You could set
Yeah.
up a long ways out and still be hitting those guys. Like, you could not even be with your own troops.
For that war,
and you could be
for
shooting
that
over
war,
top
though,
of them.
For that war, I would rather have Viet Cong because they're just so well versed in guerrilla tactics.
Well, I'm not
and
talking
guerrilla
about
warfare.
the actual, like, just the
And then,
tactics. I'm
like-
talking the weapon system. You know
But
what
like
I mean? Like,
living off the land, like
yeah. These are some hard men.
they're like seals. If they're like seals that have been in country a while and know how to fucking
Well, I'm not talking out of basic. I'm talking about, like, you take some decorated rifle
Yeah.
squad from Vietnam and you drop them into the Civil War. And again, they have that logistic train to where they don't have a fuckload of rifles, but they got all the bullets they want to shoot. You know what I mean? Like, everything they have in spades.
it'd make it
for
tougher.
them.
But
Like-
I bet
How much could turn the tide?
I bet some snipers would be able to get them
Yeah.
eventually.
I mean, rifles do kind of limit your range on that because you could
Yeah.
post up with like a tank and they wouldn't even see you, and
Getting
you
shot
could be
is getting
shooting
shot.
them.
Now, if you put a tank there,
Abrams in the middle of the Civil War literally just drives up and is like, surrender or die. And they're like shooting at you even with their cannons and they want to do shit.
Yeah.
You'd be like, you're going to have to bury us in dynamite.
You would just use the fucking...
The coax on the...
Exactly.
The 30 on it and just mow them down.
It's a 50 cal.
On the Abrams, is it a 50?
Yeah.
Like the one that's built into the turret?
It's got a coaxial 50 cal and then a turret-mounted 50 cal.
Yeah, I know the one on top. I thought the one in it was just a 30. But that's even more mean. So, I mean, I don't even think you would need to fire around at that point because you could just drive over to their lines and be like, you see your wooden fences?
Yeah.
Do a donut on that shit and be like, pop your head out and be like...
Cannonballs are just bouncing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they would have to literally pile their barrels of explosives on you all at once. And you'd have to sit still willingly this whole time for them to ever even touch you.
Or even if they IED'd it, like buried it.
With the ghetto technology they had, they'd had to bury like a barrel of dynamite, and the tank could have been like, what the fuck was that? It'd be like, I don't know, I think we ran over a squirrel or something. They'd be like, a watermelon? Maybe we crushed a watermelon? I don't know. Actually, they'd probably just be like, nobody even notices. They're just like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
You smell that?
Yeah, like, we didn't even fire. I smell gunpowder. And this ain't no like modern I smell straight up. Of course, I don't know. If they had the logistics, one Abrams could win the Civil War, I think, because you could just drive into whatever town and be like, "Oh, you don't surrender!" Like, just drive through their buildings and shit, like, run over their horses.
You wouldn't even need to fire the.
No, that's what I'm saying. Cannon. You wouldn't even need the rounds. You would just need the fuel and just stay buttoned up and be like, drive right through. You know, it could be like.
Do you ever get down that YouTube channel or that video of the Killdozer?
Oh, dude, yeah. I remember seeing that like back in the day.
What town was that? Was that in
where was
Idaho?
that? Yeah, some place like that. And it was just like, I can't remember what happened. He got fired or laid off or something, and he converted a fucking, like a straight up front
It was like a
plow.
It was like a Caterpillar D8
like
or
a
something.
plow, yeah. And straight up
dozer.
Tankerized it. Yeah,
he
like
put,
a pusher.
He
put a big ass steel plate.
Put steel plates all around.
Made himself a box that you couldn't get in or out of once you were in it, and had himself a grand old time. And like, I remember how they killed him was finally with like concussion and shit. They couldn't do anything to him, so they had to set off.
They shot his radiator, and he finally melted the pistons.
But that's not what killed him.
No, he killed himself, I think.
I think they got him with concussive force. Like, when they started hitting him with stuff, I think what they're saying is, like, he was basically jellified, you know what I mean? Like, he's inside of a thing that's not really meant for taking explosives, and they're fucking hitting him with stuff.
Let's take a look at that.
I don't actually remember what killed him, but I remember, like, yeah, that's crazy. And that's just a farm equipment.
No, it was a legit dozer.
I mean,
construction dozer.
It's a piece of farm equipment, basically. It's a tractor with a plow on the front is what a dozer is.
Yeah.
And all he did was put, like, armor on it.
You see when they tried to stop him with a motor grader?
The problem he had, too, was he was crushing into those houses.
Yeah.
And, like, he was losing his, like, ability to actually be mobile, and that fucked him up. If he stayed on roads and shit and, like, stayed in the open and drove it like he was actually trying for longevity, they'd had to hit him with tank rockets and shit.
Yeah, I think his point was he was just pissed off, and he just wanted to make a statement to the town city council.
I don't remember what it was.
I think he ran into, like, city hall or city council building.
Great, dude. There's actual instances where people, like, stole actual tanks and kind of did the same thing too. Went on a joyride with the tank, running over cars and shit. They didn't have any rounds to pop off or nothing. And it was not like it was a full tanker. It was just somebody stole a tank.
You could still have fun. Crush cars.
A lot of shit.
Yeah, D8 dozer's not even that big. Like, the biggest one I ever drove was a D11.
You think about what they're designed to do, and then if you are smart, there's nothing that can stop it. Because even if you come up to a ditch, you're like, well, I better back up. I better put the plow down, and then I better just push some of this dirt into that ditch and drive right over it because I'm a bulldozer. I mean, they had to do stuff like that in, military weapons, or, like in World War II, they had to put all kinds of shit on the front of their Abrams to plow through hedgerows. But there's actually legitimate, like...
I've heard stories of the dozer drivers getting confirmed kills.
Yeah, like
pushing buildings over on people,
crushing, knocking structures over, or I mean, if you
knocking down walls, and
like turning dirt.
Yeah,
you hear the stories in World War II where like they could turn near a trench and it would fold that trench in.
Yeah.
Bulldozer's just a tank.
They use dozers a lot in Fallujah to just push down buildings and shit.
And it's smart. They're a lot cheaper than armored equipment, right?
I mean, they're like camoed out.
Well, no, but I'm saying like, okay, let's say you take your run-of-the-mill Caterpillar bulldozer.
Yeah, they put
It's a lot
glass.
cheaper than like, even a Stryker infantry vehicle.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like they're night and day at the prices. So you could afford to send a bunch of those in and do some pretty crazy shit.
Yeah, they pretty much just paint them instead of cat yellow. They just make them
tactical
camo. Yeah, they put bulletproof glass
and molly straps. Now they're like it's
they have like rifle mounts and shit. Yeah,
it's tactical.
Yeah, no, my buddy was a equipment operator in Afghanistan. They had some fucking shattered bulletproof glass because that shit's thick.
It's crazy when you think about like a war.
I forget, it's like 7 or 9 panels of glass.
You're like, all these guys out there in the front driving these tanks or these Humvees or whatever. But there's dudes just driving trucks that are carrying, like, uniforms. You know, like, they're so just driving around. That's crazy to think about because, like, most of the time they're driving around.
Like the 7 tons?
They're like, oh, man, they're in all these big military equipment. You're like, have you taken a closer look at that vehicle? It's just a big truck.
Yeah.
Like, ain't nothing military about that. Somebody shoots at it, it's fucked. Like, you think of it like World War II, where they have the Red Ball Express, where those dudes are driving from the harbors in Normandy and just racing equipment to the front, you know?
What were they using?
Deuce and a halves or whatever.
Right,
yeah, just big old trucks. Just if they got shot up, that glass wasn't even like safety glass because we're talking World War II. That shit would have just shattered and fucking they'd be dead.
Yeah, I went to boot camp with a guy that took a bullet in the back and Kevlar saved his life.
Was he a driver, like a supply guy or what?
I forget what his MOS is. But yeah, he just got shot in the back in Afghanistan. Fucking sappy plate saved his life.
It's funny how you always get, like, you hear about, oh, man, they jumped, like, our convoy or something, and they're just carrying fucking food and shit. It pisses you off, but then you realize, it's smart military tactic. You go after the supply lines. That's what you go after.
Yeah.
But they don't ever do it well enough to stop it, and they're just like, man, they blew up one of our trucks.
They're trying to go for the loss of life.
Well,
that's the real damage.
Which is actually pretty stupid if you think about it, because you don't win a war by killing the other soldier, really. I mean, that's never what's won a war that I can think of.
You do when it's a foreign invader, and you're just trying to break their will to fight.
Yeah, but are there any conflicts where that is what decided the conflict? Was the one side that killed more? I don't know, because I don't think you can really say that.
We wasted
We killed a lot more North Vietnamese than Americans died.
Oh, 100%.
And we got pushed out.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not an example of where killing people won you the war, because we killed a lot more of them, so we win the war.
No, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they're just trying to get 1 or 2 kills because that's just going to eventually break our will to fight.
Yeah.
And it did. That's exactly what happened in Vietnam.
I think Vietnam is one of those wars where you're like, if you could redo it, I could win that shit in a month. Like, never taking the North off the table. You pound the fucking shit out of it until it's rubble, and then it's over. But no, we just let them build up these safe areas and like, oh, we're not going to fly there.
I think the problem in Vietnam was that the South was corrupt as hell.
Well, and so was our government.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was making money. Vietnam was a profitable enterprise.
Still is.
Oh, yeah. It's worth a lot more now than it ever was back then. Like, it went from being worth, millions and billions to being worth fucking trillions. I don't even know what the next number is, because it's starting to be worth that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
well, do you ever go to any of the shows, like here?
What, like the military type show?
Yeah.
No.
They're insane.
Like, you mean like trade shows where they're selling equipment,
or
contract? Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure my dad does. I don't know if they ever actually have.
Yeah, like all the arms shows where the fucking private militaries and the actual military shows up.
I actually saw where they were selling like, military equipment and technologies and shit, but it was in Colombia, and it was all stuff that was to remove landmines and shit.
Oh yeah.
So it was like the opposite end of it. It was like, this is what you need after you've fucked up, after you've won the war. This is what you need.
It was the cleanup crew.
Yeah, exactly. It was a cleanup crew, and it was also at the cluster munitions and mines, like global.
That's a big problem in Laos,
dude. It's a big problem in most conflict zones, because after the conflict's over, who's stepping on these? It's like the goat herders and the kids, and some dude 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later blows his whole fucking leg off.
Huge. Yeah. I've met people that have just stepped on landmines or on exploded ordinances.
And that's another one of those things where I'm torn on, because I'm like, if I was ever invaded, I'd be like, put landmines everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, just string those fuckers out like they're seeds. But then you're like, man, landmines are fucked up because they're so indiscriminate and they don't give a shit who's stepping on them or rolling over them or whatever.
Yeah, Claymore's the way to go.
Yeah, especially if it's like controlled, or the people that are about to walk in front of it are the guys that you want walking
front
in front
towards
of
enemy. I've thought about that if I needed to like defend my house.
What, you need to get your hand on some claymores?
For sure, and then set up some concertina wire.
Yeah. I think you could really rig a place pretty cool, like Home Alone style. Even if you didn't have claymores, you could still use like those 22, camp traps and shit that they have, tripwires. You could still kill people with that kind of shit.
I mean,
fugas, right?
What's that?
Like they would take a tube and you would put some kind of like an explosive in it, even if it's just gunpowder or a grenade or something. And then you would basically put napalm and like hay and shit in it.
Yeah.
And then it's just a tripwire, like a flame-throwing mortar. So when somebody comes through, it just goes bloop and spits all this fucking burning shit all over it. Burns the fuck out of it. So it's like, instead of a claymore, you're just cooking them.
There's a so up where Oscar Mike is like headquartered, it's just like northern Illinois, like 8 miles from the Wisconsin line, way up north. So it's just cornfields, soybean fields, fucking old ass farmhouses and shit, Yeah. And there's this one house where this guy must just fucking live on the internet, because he just it's this house in the middle of this field, and then it's got a bunch of fucking barbed wire around it, cameras all over the fucking
He's
place.
living in like a Faraday cage or
all
something.
the windows are fucking covered, and there's like booby traps all over. There's like propane tanks.
Dude is
all over the
either
fucking
gone
property.
full Burt Gummer or he's cooking meth or something.
Who knows, dude? Yeah.
And he's actually like setting up a perimeter.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was some fucking Buffalo Bill situation.
You know how many people I think in this country fantasize about that kind of stuff, where you're like, if I had to go out in the woods, like the Rambo situation, right? Where you're like, I got to defend myself. Like, I'm going to do it with the land, right? I'm going to set traps on that hill. I'm going to ambush in the creek, that kind of shit.
You know where that comes from?
I wonder if other countries, if there's some like Russian kid who's like, I'll fucking get those, like doing the same stuff, but in his backyard.
Like if we were ever invaded, like Red Dawn.
Yeah. No, that's totally Red Dawn. Like that movie almost makes me want us to be invaded, just so I could be like, Wolverine, and fucking blow up the invaders and shit.
What'd you think of the remake?
I thought that they should have basically just ripped off the original a lot more instead of trying to change up so much shit. And they should have probably...
Did they make it North Korean?
Yeah, not just North Korean.
It was originally supposed to be Chinese, right?
So it was. They made it.
Did they bring Cuba again?
It was North Korea, but using Russian equipment or Chinese equipment, or something. It didn't make sense basically, because they're like, these groups wouldn't work together.
I think originally it's supposed to be Chinese,
and
the
they
Chinese
changed it because they got pissed off or something. And they still wanted that China money, so they changed it. Like a lot of shit that's happening now, people are like, we're just gonna cut that scene. Fuck you, fuck those people. If they don't want your movie, don't let. I'd be like, you know what? China can't have this. And then you know what? That shit will be in China. I guarantee it. If you were like, you can't have it, China, they would fucking use some corporate espionage to steal that movie and play it for their people, because they were like, no fucking American
like
movie producer is going to tell us we can't watch it.
What was that? The Seth Rogen...
That where they assassinate Kim Jong-un or whatever?
The Interview, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of funny, too, because they're like, oh, it'll offend North Korea. Oh.
That
Who fucking cares?
That was
Dude.
one of the first movies I bought on streaming.
I was watching, and I've seen it before, and I watched again, the Medal of Honor series on Netflix, where it's just like 6 or 7 episodes, and each one's dedicated to a dude.
I need to watch that.
And they talk about the dude and how he earns the medal and, whatever. And there's one where it was in the, it's Hershey, and he's in the Korean War. And they said a lot of, it's the forgotten war or whatever, like, not many people really know as much about the Korean War as they know about all these other ones.
Yeah.
Which is true.
I certainly did.
Which is true. Yeah, I still don't know a lot about it, but I know a lot more, I think, than you.
I didn't learn about it till I joined the Marines.
Yeah.
You have to do Marine history.
Yeah. So it's part of the Marines' history. So he earns the Medal of Honor. Anyways, it doesn't matter about what him, but at the end they were like, these guys, if any of them ever wondered, like, what were we fighting for? The guy says there's a great picture from the space station, and it shows that region at night, and you see light. South Korea is fucking
I've been
lit
there,
up
dude.
as
I've
shit.
been there. It's amazing.
And then North Korea is just dark. And then, of course, there's light again when you get into the other European countries going that way. Like, it turns,
Well, you got, like, some of the best fucking break dancers and pop artists and cell phones on planet Earth. And then on the other side, you got fucking...
Not even electricity.
Who knows? Like, internet?
No.
Like 2 people?
Not even electricity. So that fake town on the North Korean side of the demilitarized zone, that's just like this huge metropolis that nobody lives in or ever did because it's like a propaganda town.
Yeah.
It's
like a Truman Show.
Yeah, but a really sad low budget that got canceled, but they're still putting, oh no, people live there. There's never people there. Oh no,
I've thought about this in my travels, and like, if I were to ever asked to go to North Korea to do it like a wheelchair rugby clinic.
Yeah, no, I would have to be like...
Would you do it? Would you go with me?
If maybe SEAL Team 6 was like just hanging out, on call, maybe. But nah, man, that's scary as fuck. Like with the current regime there, I'm not Dennis Rodman. I'm not
I
going
wouldn't
to
do
North
shit.
Korea,
I wouldn't
dude.
bring a cell phone.
I would be afraid that like my shoes would say something that would offend them in it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to a country like that.
Fuck
Same
around.
reason I'm not surrendering to like any Russians or most of anybody except for the Brits. You can always surrender to the Brits and the Americans. Like I said, surrender to the Americans. You will get Big Macs and healthcare, better healthcare than the citizens of the country. In fact,
you might have to do a stint in Gitmo,
but like I said, they feed you there sometimes. Very, very, very like insistent that you eat.
Yeah, there's Fish Fridays.
Do we still have people in Gitmo?
Oh yeah,
because like they're always like, we're gonna close Guantanamo, and I'm like, oh, maybe they'll finally do it, and I just stopped caring after like the 100th time. They're like, it's gonna be shut down. I'm like, man, fuck it.
It sucks to say, but it is a pretty good asset.
I'm not giving it up.
The people that we're sending there?
Yeah, no, that's the problem, is we need to be more discriminate with, like, this asshole deserves to be there. This guy, this guy farms goats.
This guy's a goat farmer.
Yeah, this guy was selling opium. Like, get him the fuck out of here. Like, unless he's Taliban, and then fuck him up. Like, but I think the problem with a lot of what they call it back then, the enhanced the enhanced interrogation techniques, or it's just straight up torture, is they don't work.
I don't think it does.
It doesn't. It's just for torture. Like, the information you get is worth shit, and they've proven that time again where they're like, this is fucking shit. Maybe one thing's true, but you got to wade through the other 900 bullshit, so it's not worth it.
Other means of finding
Buy more drones, dude. Yeah. Send that shit lower. We can afford to lose a few.
Put more... informants on the ground.
Yeah, we haven't had good human intelligence, I guess, in like the Cold War days are over. Yeah. Where now we're all like signal intelligence.
I just read a book,
which is why Osama bin Laden was able to hide for so fucking long, because he was like, "Oh, you're tracking signals? There goes my phone.
I listened to a goddamn donkey to carry my mail." To a book called The Way of the Knife, and it was pretty much talking about how the CIA transformed from like the Cold War era to what it is now.
Information warfare, basically.
Yeah, and like how they developed the drone program and how they use it. And
oh man,
like the relationships they build and destroyed with Pakistan.
If there's any one U.S. institution that like you could directly tie to just fucked up shit all over the world, it's got to be the CIA, dude.
Oh yeah.
They just are like, oh yeah, Bay of Pigs, that was us. Oh yeah, like
Secret War in Laos.
Secret Airlines, that America Air, that was us. They're like, oh, Colombian drug cartels. Yeah, we were bringing cocaine in. Yeah, man.
Pablo Escobar.
It's good times, dude. Oh yeah, Osama bin Laden.
Noriega.
We used to give that guy a shitload of money, dude. We gave that dude RPGs, or like the U.S. equivalent. Actually, we gave him RPGs too, because we were. You know what I think is funny? During the Cold War, we needed titanium, right? And Russia was a great source of titanium. So the U.S., through like an Israeli firm or something crazy, it was some CIA deal, was buying all the titanium that Russia was exporting, and then they were making it into airplanes that were then flying over Russia, spying on them. So it was like the Russians were providing the raw resources for our spy program that was flying over. That's fucking cold-blooded. And then, of course, it's like, that was the CIA. Like
that was like the U-2 spy plane. That was
and
that was
the
tested out in
SR-71.
Dallas.
They needed the titanium for both those projects, and they got it from the Russians.
That was tested out at Area 51, I believe.
Oh, I'm sure it was. It was Edwards too. I think all these things are like at some point they go from this base to that base depending on.
I think that's what all the crazies are seeing when they think they see UFOs.
So
and shit.
I remember when I lived in Vegas, when we lived out at Nellis, and this was when I was like, I don't know, I was 11 or 12 or something, right? And the UFO nuts at that time were drawing pictures about the plane that they just saw last night, and it was this triangular crazy thing, right? And there was all these concept artists drawing up this awesome spaceship. Yeah, it was the F-117. Like, in perfect profile is what they saw. They saw the F-117 like a decade before it was ever made public, because it didn't go public until like right before the Gulf War. And
that
shit,
shit's always hush.
Yeah. So people learn about the U-2. It already been in use.
Yeah.
People learn about the F-117. It was like old.
Right.
When we learned about it, they're like, that fucking thing is old.
Yeah.
It was a test bed. Like, and of course we put it into use and we bombed the shit out of some radars and stuff. But yeah, it was dude. People are like, UFO! I'm like, no, man, that's just what we're going to be playing in video games in about 15 years.
So, we were on a night patrol one time out at Camp Pendleton, way out in the fucking hills. And I was on night watch, or fire watch, and this was probably like fucking 3 a.m.
You had a blue light blinking.
After I text message. But, so, I'm on fucking fire watch, and it's like 3 a.m. I'm fucking sleep deprived. Like, we've been out in the field for a couple days now. And there was, like, 3 low lights in a triangle formation that floated right above my head, maybe, like, 500 meters away.
Uh-huh.
Quiet as fuck. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And it kind of, like,
what was your
hovered in
first thought?
place.
Aliens or something?
Yeah, UFO.
Yeah.
Well, at first I was like,
here's the thing.
I'm going fucking crazy.
Here's the thing. Anything you see in the sky and you don't know what it is a UFO, even if it's a fucking bird, right? Because if you haven't identified it yet, it's a UFO.
Yeah, unidentified
but
flying object.
people always say, like, UFO, oh, alien. I'm like, dude, F-117, B-2. That thing doesn't even look like it should fly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
At first, I thought I was going fucking crazy, and then I was like, oh.
Do you find out what it turned out to be?
No, never.
So
it's a big mystery.
B-2 with its running lights on.
Either that or, but it
was a helicopter mode.
It almost like, it like hovered.
So when I lived in Utah, me and my buddies were up at like this lookout spot that could look right over our little town, right? And it was the first road when you would turn into the town. It was like this beautiful scene of the town. And there was this little lookout spot, tiny little, park 2 cars there maybe. And we were all parked up there, probably smoking weed and shit. And looking out over the valley, and it's over out towards my buddy's house, and we see this fucking green glowing orb, like, zip up behind like this mesa, zip over, zip back the other way, and then do some like weird squiggly squish, and then just right back behind the hill. And it's really quiet in the car, and then somebody goes, "Did anybody?" And everybody lost it. They're like, "Oh my god, what the fuck was that?" Because everybody thought they saw it, but they didn't see it. You know what I mean? Like nobody was like, "Oh, I can't say shit," because everybody saw this thing, and we never figured out what it was. Just this weird big blue, or not blue, green, like kind of like swampy green, just green but glowing and looked big. Can't really tell how far away. The fact that it went behind a hill, we knew where that hill was. We knew how big it was. This thing had to be massive to be the size it was compared to that.
Maybe something with a chem light.
Who the fuck knows, dude? We were like, what the fuck was that? You know, and one of my buddies was like, dude.
Dog with a chem light?
Alien shit, right? Like, and this is before there's like quadcopters and stuff. So it's nobody flying around a little. And plus, we're in this town where we know everybody. It's nobody out there with some hobby or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we start trying to figure out what the hell was
they
this
had
thing?
those. They had those RC planes.
Yeah, this thing wasn't no RC plane, like, because the distance it covered and back and forth, we're like, hey, you know, for us, we were like, I don't know of any human thing that does that, you know. So it's that whole, oh, we saw a UFO, but who knows what the fuck it was.
Do you still mess around with your drone?
I got my batteries charging. I flew just.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, it's 3 of the batteries right there. I just flew, I don't know, about a week ago. But it's too cumbersome because it's big. I have to have somebody go out with me. So actually, I ordered the new Mini from DJI.
Is that the Mavic or?
Yeah, the Mavic Mini.
Yeah.
I ordered it the day it launched, and it just shipped today.
Nice.
So it just left Shenzhen today.
How much smaller is that thing?
Dude, you can put it underneath the phone, and top down, you can't see it if it's folded in. You know what I mean?
It's like a, I don't know, box of fucking.
The whole kit that I have has the controller.
It's about the size of a water bottle.
Smaller than a water bottle, and
one of those Dasani water.
And I don't
bottles.
think it weighs as much as the water bottle.
Because the
whole
the
kit
regular
that I got
Mavics are like a
could
camcorder.
fit in like a shaving bag size thing, whereas you see those 3 batteries would take and that's supposed to be here Wednesday. I'm pumped because that's something I'm just gonna toss in my chair, and when I'm like, oh, this is a cool spot, I'm just gonna pop it out and fly.
Yeah, I actually thought about that when I was hunting. I was like,
oh,
I had
dude.
a fucking drone.
And drone is a great thing.
I found out it's illegal.
Where you're at?
Like, yeah, there's some Florida, it's legal. There's some states where it's legal.
What drone was it?
Just flying a drone for hunting.
Oh yeah, I got
to spot fucking elk and shit.
Well, I mean, you're not allowed to chum when you're fishing, right? And that would be a pretty unsporting advantage. They're like, you gotta
unfair. It's an unfair advantage.
You're sitting out there, you're like, all right, Ted, and Ted's like sitting behind the control panel of a Global Hawk fucking drone.
There's some states where you can do it, and you only have to wait like 24 hours.
For what?
Till you can hunt. Like, it's weird.
Wait, what? Like,
there's some states where you can use a drone to spot elk.
So you go like Tuesday, you fly the drone, and then like you can't shoot until that same time Wednesday.
Yeah.
So you're like, I hope that bitch stays in that field for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're just trying to get a lay of the land and figure out like where there's trails and stuff, it would be worth it because you're like, oh man, I can see game trail right there. Just like that's where I'm going tomorrow. Stuff like that.
Actually, people do that in the wintertime with, like in Montana with the snow.
Thermals would be awesome for that too.
Just to follow the elk. Yeah. You're like, okay, they're moving.
Oh yeah,
this way.
They're using drones for all kinds of research stuff, like where they used to have to.
No, I'm saying for hunting.
Oh well.
To find out their trails and be like, okay, they're going this way in the winter. They're going to come back this way in the spring.
Have been using like technology forever. I mean, they use camera traps to find out where they're at when it's the off season. You know, so you're like, oh, we know they come through here. So, drones is a bit like, fucking, we're gonna need to teach the deer to like hide their thermal signatures and shit pretty soon. Where they're like, we can only move
rolling in mud
for like the dusk light hours when their ISO is too low to pick us up, and like the deer are gonna have to fucking get jammers and shit. It's kind of crazy because when you're looking through the screen of your phone, or if you're hooked up to like a laptop or whatever, you're like, oh, this is awesome, I can see cars driving around, but it's too small to pick up all the little detail. But when you pull it back up on your computer later, you're like, oh my god, I could see some dude like just chilling there like smoking a cigarate that I had no idea was there.
Aren't there some where you wear almost like VR goggles?
Yeah, so oh man, I want to get into FPV drone stuff so bad. I just don't have this.
What's that?
So you know how like the Phantoms and stuff, they're like a cinematic drone platform.
Cameras.
They have a smooth camera. they're not going to do flips.
So there's like the sporty
They're
ones.
not going to do barrel rolls. They're going to be stable and fly in straight lines.
I've
and
seen
shit
that
like
on TV, the
so
racing
the
league.
racing like FPV, but now they've got cinematic FPV drones where like DJI has a camera that
Oh shit.
even through the goggles is still HD. So the people that are flying are like, oh my god, it's like we're
So
flying
it's like-
through this canyon.
So
you
it's
know?
like a GoPro.
And you're looking,
on.
it's like you're strapped to a bird basically, and you're just like flying around. And they even have some where the people go crazy and they slave the gimbal to the VR so that if the dude turns, the camera will turn on the drone. That's badass.
That's fucking
Like
crazy.
that's Star Wars shit where you're like, I mean, that's actually the stuff that the military pilots have been using for a long time. Like the cool helmets that the fighter
like
pilots
the,
have,
or the
Yeah.
helicopter pilots.
like the look,
the Apaches.
what do they call that?
It's like look targeting or something.
Yeah, like
sight
look-
targeting.
Look down, shoot down, or something. It's
Yeah.
like where they can see it. If they can just look at it, it just targets it. And if
Yeah.
they can see it, they can shoot it. So that's what's actually really badass about like the Apaches and stuff. They're like, I don't care that I'm pointed that way. I just launched a missile, and now I'm going to go fly over here and not even think about you anymore because you're
Yeah.
fucking dead in a second.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, like, you gone. And when they first hit the battlefield, they could do like 16 targets. Now they're just like got everything on the battlefield painted if
Yeah.
they wanted to, and it's just a matter of actually is that a real target or not. But
Speaking of old video games, I remember there was a helicopter video game on the old Sega Genesis.
oh man, Cobra or whatever.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I was like, that was
That was like a
desert.
top down though, wasn't it? Where it's like
You were, yeah,
you're
above-
looking
yeah.
from above, and it's
Yeah.
like a pew 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 where you pick up the triple beam type weapons
Yeah.
or whatever.
Then
Yeah.
there was what was the fighter pilot game on PlayStation?
So
Ace Hunter.
Ace Combat.
Ace Combat.
They just came out with that recently, the Ace Combat 7 or whatever.
really?
and
on
I've-
Xbox?
I think on like PlayStation and stuff. I don't know what it was, but I played some
That's
of the
a
older
throwback.
ones.
That was fun.
The problem with those games is it's like anime version of air combat,
Oh, yeah.
basically. Like it's not real. It's like, man, I just fired off 74 missiles in that round. What the fuck were you
Yeah.
flying in the Titanic? Like Jesus Christ, dude. No, have you ever played War Thunder? It's free.
Is that another Xbox game?
It's on PC. I actually think it is on Xbox.
Is that a
And it's just like tanks,
Oh,
planes,
okay.
boats now, but it's not like infantry combat and stuff like that. It's just like these vehicles and shit. But it's free to play. The graphics are absolutely amazing, and they have like arcade mode to where the flight controls of the tanks really simplified to where you're just like forward is forward, but then they also have realistic to where you're like if you're in a dive, your wings will rip off if you
Those
exceed your airspeed.
the flight simulator games are pretty dope.
I always played flight sims. Like I don't even have one right now, but since we got our first like family computer way back in the day, one of the first things I did was find a flight sim to put on it.
Yeah,
and then,
I never
like,
got into that.
Oh, right down in this drawer, I've got like a fucking $250 throttle joystick thing that I
Yeah.
got years ago. I mean, it doesn't cost that anymore, but I
Those
used-
games were
used to play
dope.
the
Dude.
shit out of it. Like
I used to play what was it, TIE Fighter versus X-Wing? It was a Star Wars game, but it was like you could fly the spaceships
yeah.
and put different fucking bombs on them, and you would like
There was some F-16 game I used to love. I have no idea what it was called, but it was just a flight simulator all about the F-16, right? Like, that's the only plane you could fly, but you could do, like, legit missions where it was, like, you had to take off and navigate because there wasn't no, like, turn to your waypoint. Bitch, ain't no fucking waypoint. Like, you got to know where you're going. You better have read the briefing, you know what I mean?
the
Like,
games now are just insane though.
Yeah.
There was just something cool about the old, especially the PlayStation 1 when that came out.
I remember, like, Star Fox or whatever, those old
Yes.
like,
Well,
like
Star
Super
Fox on
Nintendo
Super
or
Nintendo.
Yeah.
That one was fun.
That was fun. And
then-
all you
then
could
s-
do
and
was
then
like
64.
go left and right and
But
do
then
rolls and shit.
multiplayer on 64
Yeah.
was dope, where you could be the tank, the airplane, or
Yeah.
the dude running around with the fucking bazooka.
There's been a lot of, I think when I look at games, a lot of them now, I feel like this crotchety old man because I'm like, dude, this is the future. Why do these graphics look like shit?
Yeah.
You know, like
Like
why are we
GoldenEye?
going back to low poly? Like, fuck you, dude. I want, Red Dead shit on everything.
Dude, the fucking graphics in Red Dead.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm
growing a beard because I can't grow one in real life, so I'm growing one in the game. I keep
think
popping the hair tonic, and
I don't know how long a day lasts, but I feel like your hair grows too fast.
Oh yeah,
Because I shave, and like the next time I'm at camp, I look like fucking Moses and shit. Like I'm like, dude, I've been gone for like an hour. How's this dude like?
oh really?
Yeah, that's why I feel like
that might be a PC glitch.
I don't know. I don't know how fast
it takes me
facial hair grows
forever.
or how long the day is. You know, what I
It
mean?
takes me.
Like, I only think it's an hour, but it's been a week.
If I do the hair tonic, it takes me. Actually, there's a good hack.
Oh, see, I
where
haven't used any like hair tonics or nothing.
There's a
either.
hack where you take the hair tonic and you get in a stagecoach, and you go to a different part of the map, so the days in the game fucking goes by.
So then you just get out looking like Jesus on the other end and shit.
You get like two. I think you get like 2 little pips.
It's crazy too that like if you eat a lot and you're just like always shoving beans and shit in your
Yeah.
face, like he'll get fat.
Yeah,
dude.
he
And
gets
if you
fat.
starve him, he gets like emaciated.
But it
and
also
shit. It's
affects
crazy.
like you get more health.
Yeah, and if you go the other
But
way, you
less
get
stamina.
like less stamina and shit, and you're like frail as fuck. It's just
Yeah.
man. I saw a thing back before I ever played it. It was on the consoles too, where they were talking about like the NPCs have actual legit lives that they're leading. They're not just like
Yeah.
in the town in a loop. They're like they're gonna go home and then they're gonna like be over here sometime. And
Yeah.
they'll be, unless you kill them. And then I mean there are some that just are always gonna spawn and shit again, but. There's like actual characters that you can just wipe out of the game by killing them at the wrong time.
You could
and
also,
they're
I
gone.
learned this, if you loot some guys, like you get like newspaper scraps,
Mhm.
and those are like treasure hunts.
And if you read like all the paperwork and stuff that you find, there's like there's all kinds of crazy background stories
Yeah,
going on
I
like
ha-
that span a decade.
I
and
try
stuff.
to do it, but I can't.
I
get-
never have the patience.
can't
I
get
always,
that fucking
I'm always
nerdy.
like, ooh, collectible, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not even gonna read it. I just stuff it in the bag or whatever, and I never
Sometimes I
fucking
skip
read
the story now too.
I so
'Cause I just want to get done with the game.
it depends.
like,
If
I
I'm like,
want-
oh, this looks like it'll be good, I'm gonna watch it, and then as soon as it gets, I'm like, I get
Yeah.
bored with it, or I just skip right to the mission. I'm like. Whoa, I don't know what happened in that cut screen, but this isn't what I expected to be happening. All of a sudden, you're robbing some shit, like
you know what I've been doing
on
now
a
too? Is,
wagon or whatever.
if like you start a mission, but you have to travel somewhere, and it's like, hey, follow me. I just enter cinematic mode.
And then you don't have to like do anything.
You
right?
don't have
'Cause
to
you're just
steer.
along for the ride.
Yeah, you don't
I
have to
haven't done
steer.
that. I always like I don't know. I just kind of like just hold the button to stay with them, and then I get bored, so I fall back until they'll bitch, and then I
Like,
see if
"Hey,
I can
get
get
up
in
here."
front of them, and I'm like, man, just I know where we're going. Come on, motherfucker! Like I don't need to follow you. Let's go, like dumbass. And it won't let you shoot them. Like you can accidentally kill your guys a lot of times, but like
Oh,
if
really?
you're purposefully like it stops you from pulling the trigger at some point. Oh man, because you would
Oh,
just
really?
fail the mission, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, why would you? Because I will go through. I just want to shoot them.
I do like how there's always like these save points because like right now I'm still using the regular controller, so when I get into a nasty gunfight,
Oh yeah, like when you're in a mission and it says like restore, either start
Uh,
it again or
yeah,
go back to last.
where if you die,
waypoint.
it's like go back to the. I was like, 'cause
Sometimes it's not where you think
it's
it should
almost
be, though. You're like,
fail.
oh,
It's almost fail proof.
It's as long as you're willing to just try it till you get it. You can't fail.
Yeah.
Because you can die like 5 or 6 times doing dumb shit. There was one mission where I was like, I'm just like, the yellow thing's showing me which way to go around, but fuck it, I'm going to take the short, and it's a big-ass cliff, and I was just like, I'm going to find a way down.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a way down, but I kept trying. So I died like 4 or 5 times before I was like, fuck it, I'll go the regular.
So, have you been up north yet?
I don't even really. I don't think I have
There's-
the whole map uncovered, so I don't know like what's up farthest north, what's
Oh,
farthest.
I've gone exploring all
Yeah,
around.
see, I haven't yet.
The only
'cause
place you can't go is Blackwater. If you go there, you get fucked up.
I went there for the mission once or whatever. Now it just
Yeah.
says like wanted dead or alive. But
Go
I can
there.
I can still go there, and everybody's like, "Hey!"
It's a fucking
Yeah.
shooting season
But that's
on
how,
your
well,
ass.
see, that's how all my places were for a while, because just like the red things where it's like you got a bounty, and
Yeah.
my whole map was red because I was just like, "Hey!"
So
just killing everybody, like fuck you, fuck you, fuck
I
you.
was up north, and there's a train that had derailed and fallen off a cliff, and you can go in there, and there's
Shit.
you can get a couple gold bars, but you have to go through a little parkour course where it's like you got to hug the cliff, you got to do a couple slides, and it took me. I was like, this shouldn't take me that long. Like I found it on the internet. And I
That's
was
the
like,
kind of stuff where I'm
this
like,
shouldn't take me that long.
why did they make it where you had to like
But-
land here, jump there? Because those
Yeah.
are the ones I always fuck up.
But dude, it took me a good dozen tries.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, this better be worth it.
I haven't found anything yet where I was like, man, I can't do this. You know what I mean? Where I quit or whatever. I was just like,
Yeah.
to where I was like, fuck, I better get it this time. And then I get it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do another mission right now because that took me way too long to do because I'm a dumbass or something.
Dude, I've played the game for like a day session where I don't do any missions. And I just go around hunting or fishing.
Dude, so
or
I will just be like, I'm
you-
going to hunt, so I'll start stalking nice and quiet. trying to
breaking
get,
into houses.
yeah, that's fun. But like you said, when you're just free roaming and stuff, and you're like going, I'm hunting, and then you come over hill, and there's like, hey, all of a sudden there's guys,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to blow some
Yeah.
dudes up, you know.
Or finding the hideouts.
Yeah, finding the clan for me when I found them, I was like, oh,
That's fun.
I want to
Yeah.
find more of these fuckers, but I only found like the one group so far. I haven't been able to find them
The
again.
next one, I want to drag on a lasso into the swamp.
Right, yeah.
and feed
So
'em.
if you like hog tie them or you just drag them even into water, they'll just drown if you leave them there too long.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out like how much can you get away with dragging them before they die? Because if you just grab them and run really fast, you could kill them pretty quick if they hit a rock.
You
or
could
something.
also, I learned this, you could throw a dead body into a pig pen.
You could throw a dead body lots of places.
Well, and the pigs will start eating it.
No shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna have to do that. I know right where I always am passing a little pen of pigs too. I'm like-
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny too because I didn't realize that it's not like most games where you could just run into a place, wham, bam, blow everybody away, and then like when you come back, they'll be there again. No, like there was a little cabin with like a pig pen next to it, and I rolled in there, and it was either yellow or white. You know, like when they're like, "Hey, come here," and I killed the dude before he triggered anything. Yeah, he gone. Every time I go back now, it's just an empty cabin. Like there's nobody living there anymore. I wiped him out. Poor
Yeah,
guy.
I learned to just, because I used to close the cabinets. I don't know why. I would like open them, search them,
I don't
and then close them.
cabinets.
I leave them open now. That way I know I've been in this house. Because you can
Stuff
find,
doesn't respawn, or does it?
No, but like you go search those houses for those like cigarette cards
Yeah.
or like rare weapons. You can find
Or
guns and stuff in them.
gold watches and shit.
Mhm.
So the gold bars, you just sell those to the fence, right?
Yeah, they're 500 a
Yeah,
pop.
I sold one, but I didn't know if that's like
Oh, on the
what
mission.
you do. I got a gold bar.
Yeah,
and then-
saving the German dude.
I think, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I just was like,
So you can find
sell it
you-
to the
you
fence.
Can,
I
you
don't
can
know
go
what to do
find
with this shit.
treasure.
yeah, I've
It's
seen
like,
that. You get like a metal detector and shit too.
Oh really?
Yeah, you get like your little lamp, and you have like.
No, I'm just saying. There's just you can just go find like random like chests. that
Oh yeah,
have-
no, I found some.
Or go
Yeah,
find the treasure maps.
I was just like in the middle of the desert, and it was like a little half lean-to tent, non-burning fire pit, and like some boxes and shit. And I found like brandy on the crate, and then I come around and it's like a chest, and I opened up, and I'm like, it's gonna be $2 or whatever. It's like fucking $400 just sitting in
Yeah.
a box. Like, damn, dude.
Have you hunted all the old gunslingers for that journalist?
I think I've done like 2 of them,
Those are cool because you get a lot of cool rare weapons.
and they don't have to end just the same way. Like you can approach them different ways. There's not only one way to complete those missions. I found out.
yeah.
So you can fight them, or you can not fight them and still complete the mission sometimes. Like,
Oh,
so it's
nice.
not just like, oh, you have to fight and kill this dude or whatever. Like, there's
Well,
other
I've-
ways around some
I've
of them.
killed them all, and you collect their guns.
Yeah.
And I've just been using.
And then you just get to use their guns.
I've been
right?
using their revolvers.
Can you
They're
fence
dope.
them? Like, can you sell their shit?
I don't know. I haven't tried. I don't think I want to. Because
Like-
they're like custom, fucking beautiful.
I don't even know how many weapons there are yet. Like, it seems like every time
Yeah.
they're just like, oh, here's a gun. I'm like, oh, thanks. I got a new gun. And
There,
then
you can get I've played my buddy's online game, and you can get like modern, like semi-automatic pistols.
So one of the things I don't like is that sometimes it resets your weapon loadout to where when you get off your horse, you don't have the rifles yet. And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
just leave me. I will change the setup when I want to change
Yeah.
it. Don't just erase it. Because
Then
then I get off and I'm like, I'm going to kill this. Oh, shit, all I have is my revolver.
Well,
and
that
then
happens.
the bear eats
That
you
happens
or
to me
something.
sometimes in missions, where I get off the horse and
Yeah.
I'll have my pistols, and I'm like, oh, I sure
All of a
wish I had
sudden,
my
there's 20
shotgun.
guys coming at you, and you're like, I'm with the pistol where, and I want my, like, Henry or something so
Yeah.
I can just blast these dudes center mass, and they're gone. Yeah. But I have found out that, like, even on the PC, they still have a little bit of auto aim. So if you do just the
Yeah.
the quick
what
scope
I like.
and just hold just the tiniest little bit of up, it's all you just.
That's
blow
what got
off
me
your head.
sold on the game was because that's so like quad friendly.
Oh, there's a lot of games that do
I
that.
bet you
like-
I could probably
yeah.
finish the game
If you-
without
if
the
you're-
adaptive controller.
Oh yeah, I bet you just would have a harder time on some of the missions, but
Yeah.
I always usually find a way.
There's tricky things where, like fishing's
Yeah,
tricky,
or
where you got to
with the
hold down
lassoing
yeah,
stuff.
You gotta,
because you
lassoing's
have to hit
tricky.
the D-pad or something, that you're
or
not ready for.
shooting behind you because you have to hold down the
yeah,
right
push
stick.
in the stick while So there are things like that where I'm like I have to prepare for it, and then it makes it so you're not as fluid as you should be. So you get shot up a little bit or something, where I should just be blasting that
Yeah.
fool. But
But dude, watching my buddy Mike on Twitch, like it's insane. He's actually in town this week. He's doing the marathon.
once I learned
Um,
how to use Deadeye.
But it's like, yeah, Deadeye's dope.
I didn't realize that it was such like like don't even use it to cap the dudes. I just use it for that breather. Like, all right, I'm in
Well,
Deadeye.
and then
Everything's slow
you
as
can
shit.
also paint the guys.
Yeah,
and then
you can even look around too. And I'm like, okay, I'm being overwhelmed. I'm like, where's the next like 3 threats? I'm like, this
it
dude
reminds
and
me
those
of
two.
the was it the Max Payne
Yeah, it's shit like
the
that. Like
action-
bullet time and
bullet
stuff.
time? That's
yeah,
what it was. Yeah.
it's exactly like that. And when I was online, I was like, how's that gonna work? It just doesn't slow things down. So it gives you like the
Oh yeah.
sepia color or whatever, but it doesn't actually slow down time because otherwise everybody else on the server would be like, what the fuck? The dude's like, I'm gonna cap these guys. It'd be like some Matrix shit.
Or it speeds your guy up in there.
Then everybody would just be nonstop like
Tweaking the fuck.
just fucking zipping around. People already do that in online games anyways. As soon as somebody finds out some speed hacks or some stupid
Yeah.
shit, I'm like, I don't understand cheating at
That
a,
was the big one in Counter-Strike. Was
at a
aimbot.
video game. Like,
Like,
you gain nothing by
There's
winning
no
this.
there's
Why?
no satisfaction.
Ain't no fucking prize money on the line.
Yeah.
Like,
Participation trophy.
you just beat some 11-year-old kid. Congratulations.
It's like using the
stupid.
remember because didn't San Andreas and like Vice City they had like certain like you hit the pause and then you'd hit a certain combo of like buttons and you'd get like unlimited money.
Oh yeah, like
unlimited
cheat codes and
weapons.
stuff. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, cheat codes have been in games since games came out.
I don't
think
even
like I
does
think one
Red,
of
Red Dead have
it does. I've seen online that people have, and it was mostly console stuff that I've seen. But there's a way to enable cheats.
yeah.
And then of course it disables like all your achievements and all
Yeah.
that shit because you're cheating. But I understand why they do that because there are some people that are like, I don't want to play the story, but I want like
Or
a
if they-
stack of dynamite because I want
Or
to
if they've
see
already if they've already played the game.
or if they're like a YouTuber streamer, they want to do something creative
Yeah.
that in a legit playthrough just wouldn't be possible. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't
what
think
happens if you stack a mile
Yeah.
long of dynamite and then
I'm having too much fun playing the game right now.
So, I'm stoked that you're actually playing any kind of game because me and
Yeah.
Chalk were always trying to get you to game, and you were like, man, it's just the controllers, I can't do it. And
I think
shit.
I just knew I was gonna get
and of course,
addicted.
Red Dead's not exactly your first-person shooter. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not.
'cause,
That's
well,
not just
also,
what it is.
back in like 2012, like it was all about Battlefield and Call of Duty.
Well, that's
and
still, I think, like mine and Shark's game. If you can give us that style of game that isn't some fucked up version of it or something.
I'll try
3D money
playing
grab.
Battlefield, but
I kind of, we jumped off the Battlefield thing just because they were doing dumb shit. And then
Yeah.
Battlefield 5, they were like World War II, where I was like, dude,
well, that was like
I want World War II Battlefield again. And then it just,
the Call of Duty I played. It was like super high techy.
Call of Duty is like the arcade war game,
Yeah,
I
don't know.
streak
The
stuff
Wildlands sounds
It's fun
awesome.
if you're going to play for like 30 minutes and just game a little bit. But I could never get into it as like a thing that I played all the time because I was like, man,
Yeah.
you kill 5 guys, you get some like UAV or something. I'm like, it never made sense to me. I'm like,
I don't know. Call me old fashioned. I don't really like when online came. Like I remember when I was playing Call of Duty 4 on my brother's Xbox 360. I was like, this is amazing. This is what I always dreamed of. Like ever since I played like GoldenEye, I was like,
Yeah.
it'd be awesome to play with the fucking internet. And like now, call me old fashioned. I like just playing by myself.
It depends on what you're doing because some things the online is so much better, like Battlefield, for instance.
Yeah.
The solo campaigns, I always played them if they had them. But you're playing against retarded fucking AI that is like, hey, and they step around the
You
corner.
play
and
any
you're just like,
sports games?
I haven't in a while because I never had people that played sports games. So I used to like Madden and shit, and I played some FIFA and stuff.
I think I'm
But
gonna
it's
get
boring by yourself. I want to play
Yeah.
like human opponents so that you can actually
talk shit.
Yeah, and actually fuck somebody up because
I think
you can trash an AI.
one of my favorite games for PlayStation was NHL '98.
Yeah, see, I don't remember which NHL game I played, but me
That was
and one of my
when
buddies used
Colorado was like the top
See,
team.
when I lived in Colorado, me and one of my buddies, when we would hang out, that's what we'd play, some NHL,
Yeah.
whatever year
But
it
I've been playing
was.
hockey games since like there was one on Super Nintendo I used to play all the time.
Hockey game
Detroit
is like
was the top team
still
in that
pretty
one.
simplistic because you really have pass and like, you
Yeah.
know, like it's very limited what the older hockey games
Still fun though.
did. It was still fun because it was basically
Especially
an
the ones
electronic
'cause-
version of like
so
air hockey. right?
Hockey, NHL '98, you could fight, and if you pissed a dude off enough, you would actually get into a fight, and it would turn into like Street Fighter.
What's the movie? I think it's Tom Cruise. Is it Tom Cruise? It's
The hockey movie.
no. This is completely off. It's like video game stuff. They all have avatars that they're walking around in the world, but they're all like living in these fucking pods in their house basically. What the hell is the name of that movie?
What?
It's like, okay, so when people now are putting on a
How
VR
old is this one?
headset, maybe a decade. I don't think it's that old, but it's not very recent either. Maybe a little older.
You're not talking about The Edge of Tomorrow.
No, this is way before that. It wasn't Tom Cruise. It's
Couldn't have been.
no, it's not. It's Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, so he's like a cop, right? And it's him walking around.
Is it like Looper?
It's not Looper. I think it's even before Looper. And everyone is using an avatar out there in the world. They're like these super sophisticated like robots that are practically looking human and shit. But the
Fire
people
your
are
computer up and look this up.
these people are just in their like tanning bed pods that are actually their like VR headset deals, you know, where everything's
Yeah.
like haptic feedback. And so
It's
nobody
like Avatar.
so nobody interacts in the real world anymore. They're all like, you can get killed because it's just your avatar and you don't actually die. You're just out 400
But Bruce
grand or-
Willis is real, or is this a
and
plot
he's
twist?
like anti these fucking surrogates.
Yeah.
I think that was what it was called.
Sir. Oh, maybe it was. That is a movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Bruce Willis though. Maybe it was.
It's something I don't remember.
There was a good run where Hollywood came out with some cool movies like Law Abiding Citizen and
This was 2009. This has got to be it. Let's see, Surrogates.
that sounds about right.
But I can't even tell by looking at the cover. Anyways, it's not like it was a great movie or anything.
Yeah.
It's just that concept of Avatar, you know, where you're in your fucking bedroom or whatever, but you're actually out there in the real world.
What was that movie with Colin Farrell? And he was like a cop or something.
Total Recall?
No, it was before that. But he ends up getting like knocked out midway through the movie, and then it plays out. But then it turns out the whole second half of the movie he was in a coma.
Are you sure it was Colin Farrell and not
Ethan Hawke.
no, I can't think of the dude's name. Repo Man. That happens in Repo Man.
Maybe it's Repo Man.
where
They're supposed to reclaim.
There's a scene in that movie that I fucking love.
They like reclaim organs, right?
Yeah, and he's talking about. He tells in
Who-
the beginning,
it's-
"I've been
it's
knocked
Colin
out."
Farrell, right?
What is his name?
Or Jude Law.
It's Jude Law. So, I love that when they're like, they hit him in the head with that cricket bat, and he doesn't get a concussion. Congratulations, you got a thick skull. Welcome to the Tanker Corps. So they put him in a tank, and him and his buddy, because they both like can get hit in the head really hard and not go unconscious, so they're great for tanks. Yeah, because they're gonna hit their head all over the place. I just thought that was funny as shit. Yeah, but he's like, I've been knocked out like 3 times or whatever.
But so what happens at the end is
So
he's like lives in a simulation, right?
he gets hit. There's that scene where he gets hit with that big piece of fucking metal, and he dies right there. He's domed.
Yeah.
But you don't know that until like a half hour
Yeah.
later, when it turns out that new thing they were talking about where it's like full simulation. They think they're on a fucking vacation.
Yeah.
And then what the fucked up part about it is his dream is him and that girl like harvesting their own organs to like bring down the regime, which doesn't happen because he's already been domed, right?
Yeah.
Like he's fucked. She's probably dead. They ripped her organs out and shit. So it's one of those movies where it has a happy ending, but it doesn't really because they're both fucking dead.
I thought that was that didn't get the recognition it deserved.
I don't think it was original. I think it was a remake.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I'm
Like,
pretty sure there's another
scene for
movie
scene?
called Repo Man that's just not as futuristic as that, but it's the same kind of idea where they're like, you can no longer afford those organs, so we're calling back your financing or whatever. It's a fucked up, scary thought, but it's also really, really plausible.
Yeah, that was like right around. I think that was right around like 2009.
It was
whatever
2000.
reason Hollywood fucking did cool shit. Like remember Gamer?
Yeah.
With Gerard Butler?
And that's kind of that same principle that I was saying where they're avatars, right? But that was different because they were real life avatars because somebody else was jacking into their body basically and controlling them.
And what was the one? I think it was Ethan Hawke or Colin Farrell, but they were like vampires, but they could get around during the day because they had like
Daywalkers.
I think that's what it was
I
called.
think if it is, it's like really kind of.
It's like a futuristic vampire.
It's
movie.
like vampire meets.
They like own blood. They own the blood banks.
What the fuck is that? I don't know. It's late and I'm losing things, just slipping out. The movie with Harrison Ford, Blade Runner. So it's like vampire Blade Runner, basically, is
cyberpunk Blade Runner.
Yeah. And vampires.
What'd you think of the new one?
Of what?
Blade Runner.
2049?
Yeah.
Anna de Armas is hot as fuck.
Oh yeah, she's my dream girl.
That's my takeaway from that movie.
She's my dream
basically.
girl. I fell in love with her in.
She's what, Cuban or something, right?
Yeah, she was in a couple boxing movies, and she was in that movie, the Jonah Hill movie.
She was
War Dogs.
She started in some like Spanish fucking soap opera shit.
She's gorgeous, dude.
She's
best eyes, best
Oh my
lips, cute little butt.
No, I liked the movie. I like that whole universe because it's so fucked up, but at the same time you're like, yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
You know, like we could definitely destroy all organic life, and there's no wood, and like leather is fake because there's no more real animals unless they're
I did
cloned
like
and
the second
shit.
one because you got to explore more of like California, and like you saw San Diego was just a landfill.
It's such both of those movies. They're action movies where there's like no action for most of it because it's so drama. It's drawn out and it's long and plotting and it's like deep. That weird thing they did in the second one. I don't know what it is where they're centering him. Like
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
and he's saying all those words and they're like chains, and he would repeat it. And you know that weird stuff where it's an actual thing that they do.
No, it's like the test.
Yeah, and it was just like I was like, that's kind of weird and creepy, like
To see the glitches.
and they're trying to see like is he functioning the way he's supposed to because he's a fucking clone.
It's like a calibration.
or not even a clone. He's like a robot, right? They're like the thing that ends up on the alien spaceship in Aliens.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are. It's the same universe.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So they're like the synthetics that then go on to try to fucking capture the xenomorph and shit.
I like the alien universe.
I love the alien universe, except for the newer stuff. They're kind of fucking it up a little bit, I think, with this whole.
They are, but it's still cool.
David, like at first to me was kind of interesting, but the fact that they brought him into Covenant and he's like, I didn't like Covenant could have been fucking bad ass, and instead it turned into a movie I've seen before.
It's not hitting its potential.
It turned into a movie I've seen 3 or 4 times before.
It's a little bit campy,
what I mean?
but I'm still on board. Same with Predator.
Anything that Ridley Scott gets involved with, I'm gonna be down for because I love that shit.
Same with even Predator. Like I still fucking enjoy it just because I love the fucking character.
Oh, do that shit or not? To make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaur, just like me. Fucking, was it Jesse Ventura or whatever?
Jesse, man, the body. They had a good cast. They had the body. They had Carl Weathers.
That's like the classic meme.
They had
them both when they're fucking meet up.
Dylan
And
son of a bitch.
what was his name? Does he call him Butch or something. I don't even remember what he calls him.
I thought Butch was Jesse Ventura.
What's the fucking CIA bastard's name? Oh, he's Dylan. Never mind. Yeah. What
Carl
is
Weathers.
Arnold's name in that?
I'm trying to remember now. It's something cool and suave.
So, Predator. Oh, it's Predator, right? Or
First one, yeah.
it's just called Predator.
Yeah.
Dope movie.
I even like the second one.
Early 80s Hollywood, or like a Rambo era.
Yeah.
Way better, like, actually as a cinematic piece than Rambo. Even
I didn't
Rambo's.
like Rambo till I was older.
So, yeah, and Rambo's because Rambo's not a great movie. It's just not. It's like,
alright.
it's Steven. It's like the stuff he's making now. You could tell he had a big hand in like a lot of it. And it's just, it's a good 80s action film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Rambo's badass. But
No, Rambo
it's
one,
a movie that
First
you can
Blood.
look at it and just, you can instantly date it to like the 80s.
First Blood actually had some good themes about.
Well, there's been a lot of good stuff across the whole
but
franchise.
2, 3, 4, and like 8 or whatever.
What's
one
not the
that just
newest
came out.
one? Because I haven't seen the newest one.
Either.
But the one before that wasn't just called Rambo or whatever, where he's like over there. Where was he?
I think it was Cambodia.
I think it was Cambodia, and it's like all the
Blasting the
churchy
50
people.
cals.
You bringing guns? No,
Yeah.
then you ain't changing nothing.
Yeah.
But when he's on that
But then
50
and then
at the end, just fucking shit up, dude.
And then he finally goes home at the end, and I think,
and so that's where the next one starts. He's at home now, and then
and
they
it's like
kidnap his niece or
cartel,
some shit, who's Mexican.
it becomes Taken.
Yeah, basically. Rambo's much scarier because
Rambo
I mean,
Taken.
he's not going to be like, I have a particular set of skills. An arrow's already in your head and
People
it's
need to-
exploding.
People need to realize they just don't fuck with Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Because there's like Taken 2,
There's 3 of them. I think.
Taken 3. There's a Walk Among the Tombstones, which is basically
Yeah.
Taken.
And then
And there's like 5 different
the
versions
train
of
one.
him finding
There's the
people
train
and killing
one.
them. I have a very particular sense of skills.
the train one.
I will find you.
There's
I
a
will
couple
kill
other
you.
ones. He's done some good shit though.
Oh yeah, no, I like Liam Neeson. There's something that he was in that was pretty like a lot earlier that I really liked. I just can't think of it.
They
And he
should put
wasn't
him.
the main guy.
They should either make him a Bond villain, or
I don't, and I think Bond villains work when they're people that aren't already super like known, and it turns out they're actually pretty creepy. Mission Impossible.
that'd be cool.
And I can't think of which one. One of the newer ones, not the newest one because I
I
haven't
need to.
seen it.
I need to get into those. I hear they're.
Have you
pretty
seen any of
badass.
the newer ones?
No, I've saw 1 and 2.
So not the newest one, but the one before that. It's a good Mission Impossible movie. Not like, oh my god, amazing movie. The villain in that, creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Like just instantly like creepy. From the very first second you hear him talk, you're like, oh god, something about this guy is just like shoot him in the face,
The Bond villains have been pretty badass.
Have you ever seen The Borgias?
What's that?
Series about the Borgias.
Uh-uh.
Pope Borgia. It's played by I can't think of his name. It's too goddamn late to be thinking of people's names. The dude that plays Hans Gruber's brother on Die Hard 3?
Oh yeah.
That guy, right?
That was almost Samuel, right?
What's that? Yeah.
Guy.
Yep.
Hard
And
with
Simon
Vengeance.
says he plays
Yeah.
Simon or whatever. Hans Gruber's brother. That guy, I can't think of his name, plays the Borgia, the guy that becomes the Pope. Anyways, in that series, there's this really creepy assassin, religious, fucking fanatical nut job dude. It's the same guy that plays the villain in that Mission Impossible movie, and he's creepy as fuck in that series too. He's one of those guys that if I ever actually meet him in real life and haven't seen some like happy roles he plays, I'll be like, that guy. I'm not.
It's a
getting
true
it.
story.
No. Oh, the Borgias one is, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's real church history, which is, let me tell you, most fucked up history out of any history, all of history. But I could go down a rabbit hole for days on
Dude, we've
how
already.
screwed up.
This is my longest episode ever.
You're gonna have to
like
cut the shit out of this,
Oh,
and
no,
it's just
I don't edit it.
and
so
it's
I'm
just gonna be
uploading.
us tired of shit, and it's not gonna make any sense. A bunch
be-
of rambling,
Just stoner talk, I guess.
I guess.
Anyways, yeah, I guess we'll just fucking wrap it up. It's late. I gotta fucking figure out how I'm gonna get back to the hotel.
Oh man.
Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.
And remember, if you're gonna surrender, make sure you do it to the Americans. You get burgers and a ride,
Or the British.
because they'll give you they're not gonna
Tea.
kill you for
Tea
sure.
and scrumpets.
Yeah.
All right, we're out.